We of Team Gwentlemen are thrilled to announce something special we've been assembling for quite some time, the Gwentlemen's Invitational. The Gwentlemen's Invitational, or TGI, is a comprehensive team-based tournament drawn from the entirety of the Gwent community worldwide. Dozens of teams of 3 will compete for 5 weeks of Swiss-style Gwent competition in a best-of-5 conquest matches. The highest achievers among those shall advance to a round of playoffs where they will compete in a single elimination bracket in a best-of-5 conquest matches to determine the greatest Gwent team of all. All manner of Gwent-focused groups will be receiving invites to play in the tourney. You'll see teams formed by pro esports organizations like Fate Karma, nation-based alliances like the French Community, Gwent groups like Commander's Horn, and individual tournament champions like TGO July's Vishra. To give everyone a shot at competing, popular forums like Reddit's R-Gwent and Discord's public Gwent servers will get to elect teams from the best and brightest amongst them to enter the fray. Multiple matches will be shoutcasted every week for the community on Team Gwentlemen's Twitch channel, featuring celebrity casters from within Gwent community like Mega Mogwai, as well as some surprise hosts we'll reveal soon. The Gwentlemen's Invitational will last a total of roughly 6 weeks, so buckle up. Gwent will witness at least one significant content patch along the way, so TGI could truly be anyone's game.
Okay, so welcome to the week 1 of the TGI cast. I'm Swim. I am joined by Borja from CD Projekt Red. Say hi, Borja. How are you feeling today?
I don't know what to say, man. Thank you for the invite. I'm super excited. I'm excited for the games that we're gonna see. That's what I'm excited for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Borja, you're casting this set with me, and we're going to be going into casting the first games. Now, this is going to be the teams Club Penguin versus Gwent Italia. Yes. But you're actually going to be casted in the second set because you were.
No! Yeah. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. It's called CD Projekt got wrecked, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, you know, but without talking about like any outcomes, I mean, what was your personal experience like? You know, did you enjoy it?
Coming into the matches, I know that we as a team were not like super hardcore Gwent gamers, let's say, because we're like me, Vinny, and Yama were people working with the community. So coming in, we see the first team that we're matched against is True Dawn, it's Merchant, and Petrify, and I was like, whoa, okay, it's gonna be difficult, but I mean, we tried. You'll see it. You'll see. You have to be excited for one match for sure. One match was the one that I'm really proud of, and yeah, we still need to learn a lot more. I mean, we have our next matchup, which is Gwentlemen Cows. That's also a really cool team that I'm really excited for, but we'll see. I think we're pretty much ready.
Absolutely. It's a very, as everyone saw from the intro, a very exciting format. Everyone is teams of 3. Each player is playing a different deck. Now, for the teams that we're going to be casting today for the games, it's going to be Club Penguin. Now, Club Penguin is a team actually entirely comprised of TGO winners. Now, I might have the month split off, but I believe Meisling won TGO February, Mago won TGO, I believe, June, and Vaish won TGO July. Yeah,
exactly.
But they are all proven TGO veterans. All of them have had pretty major stays in terms of like high ranks in the past, and they're going to be playing against Gwent Italia, which is the Italian team for Gwent. And they look to be a little bit underdogs here, a little bit less proven, but it should be an extremely exciting matchup just because this is the first time we've ever seen this format be used in Gwent or anything even close to this, honestly. So
I mean, if you look at the Italian team, I mean, they are familiar to CCGs like no problem, and I think they'll be bringing something different to the table, something that you won't be expecting. I think that's also important because, like, we have to remember this is not a match that happens on the ladder. This is something that is happening like face to face, so it's a little bit different. The decks are a little bit different. The things that you bring with you work totally different, and I think we're about to see some really cool stuff, and I'm really excited for it.
Absolutely. I think we are ready to start going into some games here as well. Yep. So those should be starting momentarily.
Momentarily.
But yeah,
I like
it's a very exciting format. We'll have to see exactly who is bringing what in terms of, you know, just in terms of the decks.
Yeah.
One moment. Okay, so starting off, we need there's one technical problem here.
Yeah, we're not getting, I think, the video at the moment.
We have no feed. Give us just 1 second to get that sorted out.
Pretty much we see the stream, but yeah, the stream is a little bit behind.
Give us 1 moment to get this sorted out. This is our first time trying this exact method to casting, so just give us like 30 seconds and we'll start the actual cast.
It's fine. You can see everything on screen, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, so to start us out, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what's going to be casting, what's going to be what's going to be happening in terms of all the decks. But to start us out, we have Team Italy. This is Ryuji playing his Nilfgaard deck, and we also have Meisling from Club Penguin playing
he's playing Henselt
deck. Yeah. And as you can see,
interesting matchup right here.
Yep. So, yeah. So everything we're getting the feed live. So we missed a couple plays, but just to start us off, we see, you know, a pretty standard opener. We see Meisling playing the K20 Sergeant out from hand, and we see Team Italy's Ryuji playing the Alba Spearman. Now, this is a pretty typical Henselt deck. It's going for a huge tempo opener like this. This is going to be really hard to match.
Right there.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Borja? What do you think Ryuji can really do in this situation?
I mean, he has to run as fast as he can, I think. But I mean, I think you want to play on. You want to play on because you'll see the Reaver Hunters coming in later. So I mean, you have to do as much as you can to win the first one. But with this tempo play, 45 points to 5 is a lot. Is really a lot.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, he looks like he doesn't really know exactly what he does. I mean, basically anything he can do here is going to be at the threat of Meisling getting a very clean pass off. Now, he's hovering Calvite. He might be interested in getting those Imperial Golems right away. That represents a bit of tempo of his own, just to be able to, you know, try to catch up. But 40 points down is pretty ridiculous. Even after the Golems and even after that second Spearman, he's going for it. He looks like he wants to stay in this round. Now, this might be a threat. Ooh, and that is huge.
Ooh, that's a perfect
gigantic
draw.
Lacerate. Absolutely perfect for him. Wow. Yeah, that Lacerate swings for a total of 21 points on top of Calvite and Golems coming out right there. So we see Meisling counter with the Knight Elect, starting to just get a little momentum going, buffing all of his units by 2 every turn. And of course, now that Ryuji has stayed in it, now that he's survived that pass opportunity, he's got these Alba Spearmen, and they're going to be just providing more value because they're going to be able to get off at this point.
Yeah, he's pretty much back in the game. I mean, he's thinking about the Ogvis right there, and I think the Ogvis will be a really good play, especially if you see your opponent having a lot of units, which Ogvis can hurt. So this is really well, looking pretty good. I mean, the beginning was looking very bad, but he's come back from it, so should be fine right now.
Absolutely. So there's that Ogvis down, and that Ogvis is going to put some pressure on. I mean, in 4 turns, it returns, it deals damage. It's not going to be enough damage. It's only 1 point of damage, so it can't. And there's another Ogvis coming out. Yep. So 2 Ogvists, both ticking down at the same time. Ryuji's is going to go off half a turn first. This is actually pretty interesting. You don't usually see this.
He can pretty much try to block his opponent's Ogvis. I mean, Ryuji can do it, and I think that would be a smart play, but he doesn't have to do it right now. He probably wants to catch up with the points. So yeah, he plays the Alchemist, revealing one of the Foot Soldiers. They come in, he gets the draw. Perfect.
Yep. But at the same time, if he wants to, you know, look to Ox that Knight Elect, he does want to do that a little earlier rather than later. Like every turn that Knight Elect stays, it's giving an extra 2 points. So
exactly,
we could see an Ox come down, especially now that he's really started to bridge the gap in terms of his points.
that should be pretty much the play.
Yep. Looks like a pretty solid hand for both players.
He's thinking about that Van Hammer at the moment because he was highlighting that card. I mean, also can do a lot of damage instantly.
Absolutely. The Tremors is a little bit of an awkward preposition because I mean it will hit a decent amount of armored units. He looks like he's just gonna play Alchemist out, just playing for more points, playing for speed.
Yeah, get
Alchemist,
the points out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he has to catch up steadily to actually try to win this one. Yeah, looks pretty good.
Yep. Alchemist and Foot Soldier is just a pretty impressively strong combo. It's one that Nilfgaard decks are almost even pigeonholed into using right now because it's so powerful. Giving that 12 points in a way that's distributed, like in a way that doesn't lose to Lacerate, it doesn't lose to Scorch effects. Really, really good. We see a taller coming out, switching the tempo up a little bit.
Exactly.
And the biggest thing about this board state is these Okvis that are about to go off. I mean, Ryuji's is going to go off first, but it's not going to be early enough to really matter. Because while he can pass and try to get that card advantage, as soon as he does, Meisling's is just going to go off as well. And they're both going to achieve...
Yeah, you should play Ox, yeah. Boom.
Yep, there it is.
That was the best play he could do at the moment. And he's ahead on points, which is really, really good. So he has really come back from this.
Yep. Yeah, this is... I mean, who do you think is advantaged in this scenario? Like, what's your? Yeah, it's very close.
I mean, it's very close, but I think Nilfgaard has this one. I don't know. Looks pretty solid to me.
And there's a commitment, a huge commitment by Meisling.
Huge commitment.
Whoa, and there's the
Weaver Hunter like first round. That's crazy.
Exactly. So Meisling is basically locked into playing out his hunters here. That's really, really massive. Because I mean, when you've played one Reaver Hunter, you want to play them in the same in the same set, right? Basically, I mean, you play them all together. You get a huge amount of points all at once, and there's
Stalfers.
Yeah, that's huge.
The points are ticking down.
So yeah, I mean, it looks like Meisling is going to be able to push for this round harder than Ryuji is going to be able to counter him, right? Because he has the Hunters enabled, he has a very powerful trio effect that's going to go off, and Ryuji has cards in this round that he can't really use. His Vikovara Medic isn't really grabbing anything great, and at the same time, his Tibor, you don't really want to use that in round one. So, I mean, Meisling does seem to be advantaged in terms of pushing this round, but being forced out of those Reaver Hunters early is really not what that Hensel deck wants. Typically, you want to be able to just get that absurd amount of pressure early with your huge tempo. I mean, that's basically the most tempo that you can get out, reasonably speaking. Get that early pass, and then win another round with Hunters. But at this point, he doesn't really have that much of a round 3 plan, I feel like.
And you always have to save the Hunters for later, because, yeah, you play all the tempo you have, and then you're pretty much left with, the Hunters that you want to play, and you want them to get bigger and bigger. And right now, if he plays them the first round, what will you have left for the rest of them? Not very much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, typically, if you have your Hunters forced out early, your contingency is kind of those 6-point Marian infantrymen. And if you're lucky, maybe you'll have Dandelion, your Blue Stripes Commando that come out from the trio, and maybe you'll have a 24-point muster coming out on a bronze. But at this point, the Hunters being forced out plus the infantrymen being forced out, he will have an extremely dominant round 1. And here we see Ryuji start to struggle. I mean, look at his hand. He has 4 cards that he really can't play here. Like the Cantarella is kind of a soft pass if he wants to do that. But
Medic won't really work. Won't really give him a lot of value, so won't also see anything that's valid for him. So he's pretty much stuck. And also he has the Foot Soldiers that he can't really use in any way, because it's ideally to reveal them and then play them instantly. So he's pretty much stuck here. And I don't know he has the card advantage, so pretty much he can start passing here. But I don't know. Depends if he wants to go on for it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't really see a play here. His option seems to be the kind of soft pass for the Cantarella. He knows he's forced out one Hunter, and that's pretty much enough. I mean, being able to lock them...
Yeah, it's a pass.
Yeah, so he goes ahead and goes for the pass. Now, that means that Meisling on the Henselt is actually going to be able to go into the next round with Hunters, and he has yet to draw Operator, which you pretty much always see in these decks. Ah, that's actually very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Siri on hand. What will he get rid of?
I mean, he's thinking about the foot soldiers. I mean, he needs that alchemist. That's basically what he's thinking about. I mean, he's got the alchemist with the ADC, so he can't really afford. He has to keep the foot soldiers because of that. But at the same time, I mean, if he gets rid of anything, that's just really risky in this scenario. So there's the open pass. That's a pretty solid Siri dash to be able to play there. Gives him a pass it. The alternative in this case is playing the Vico Varo Medic. The Vico Varo Medic is kind of a weaker card. Well, it's true that Siri Dash may in some way increase his draw potential by giving him the opportunity to draw 12-point gold. He might decide that the Vico Varo Medic is a bit weaker. Yep. And one last thing to note. Yeah, that is true. One thing to note is that he doesn't actually know if the opponent runs Shawnee or Naneki. So he might go for the res on the Reaver Hunter there, that is, to try to deny those opportunities to put that card back. So he goes ahead for a very clean play there. I like that play.
Yeah, I think it makes the most sense. I mean, he might hit the Siri, but I think he might not, get it. So it's actually better to leave it. It's a gold. It's 9 points, and you can't really interact with it. So I think it's pretty much safe to have those 9 points for the last round.
And you got to remember, this is a closed deck format. In this format, people have the ability to not only bring decks that aren't revealed, but also change them on the fly between matches, which means, of course, you have to make plays like that because you don't know what the opponents are going to be bringing in the deck. You have to play around cards that they might have. That's
a nice draw for Ruji. I mean, the villain Threatened Mirth is really, really going to help him right here.
Yep.
Interesting is the Igni though on Misling's hand. I'm thinking if he's gonna have an opportunity to actually use it. Probably yes but it won't give him a lot of points.
Yeah, I mean the thing about the Igni is it's gonna depend how Ryuji really spreads out his points, right? I mean, he'll play the Alchemist in the ranged for 8, and the Foot Soldiers for 4, and the Rot Tosser is going to come in the Seadro at 8 again, because it's going to be pulled out. But if Ryuji actually puts his golds in a way that doesn't put any row up until 20, that Igni might not come off. But, I mean, wherever the T-Boar is going to have to be played melee, which means the Foot Soldiers are going to be in the Igni range.
Yeah, they'll get scorched.
Yep, just because Ryuji has non-gold value on all 3 rows committed at this point. But yeah, I mean, it looks like Ryuji is in a pretty dominant position, like you were pointing out. I mean, the villain Threatened Mirth is really going to deal with those Reaver Hunters. The Night Elect can be used, and I suspect it will be used to stagger the Hunters, but there is almost no answer in Misling's hand for this.
Yeah, we'll see how he tries to interact. I mean, when he plays the T-Boar, it'll give him an additional card. We'll see what he'll get. But this is looking pretty interesting at the moment.
Yep. And we see that Nihilect coming out early, hitting that Dandelion buffed Blue Stripes Commando. Now, what happened there was the trio from the Blue Stripes Commando on the first turn put a 3-strength Blue Stripes Commando at the bottom. He buffed it with Dandelion up to 6, and he pulled it out. That's what that deck does. And it's pretty powerful. We see a Rot Tosser coming down here.
There we go, Rot Tosser.
Yep. Absorbing one of the buffs from Nihilect and threatening to kill it in 2 turns as well. The nice thing about this Rot Tosser is it prevents the Night Elect from buffing the Commando out of Rot Tosser range. So this Rot Tosser is geared to kill both of them. And there might not be a lot to do about that. I mean, he's got a reinforcement. There's his operator hitting another Reaver Hunter. Yep. And that's pretty powerful. 3 Reaver Hunters is obviously a really strong combination. He's going to be able to get them out. The trio is going to smack down one of the 8s. But the problem is that he might not be able to stagger them against the villain Threatened Mirth. And the villain Threatened Mirth is going to go huge here. That is a very, very powerful villain Threatened Mirth.
There we go. Foot Soldiers.
We're gonna see what he draws here. Scorch or Regis. He goes ahead and gets the Scorch, and that's another powerful card in this matchup. I mean, he has 2 Scorches. The Cantarella is the highest strength thing, followed by the Operator, but that's not even what you're scorching. You're scorching the Hunters, and the Hunters are always gonna come out at a high value. Yeah.
And we have a 3-power Rot Tosser right here. So Cow Carcass 3-power is gonna eat soon.
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely true that Misling has the more points on the board right now. I mean, he loses to the Rot Tosser and the Scorch. Like, he's losing a lot of points, and the T-Boar is going to come out for a lot as well. What's the T-Boar drawing him? There's one last
card there.
This is Night Elect, right? His third Night Elect is
most likely. Looks like it.
Yeah.
There we go. Villain time.
Yep. I mean, he's thinking about playing it. He could play it next turn. He doesn't have to commit to it this turn.
Yeah.
And, you know, keep in mind that these teams are in, you know, voice chat with each other. They're all making these decisions as a team. So maybe, you know, one of them saying, oh, no, don't do that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's actually good, but it's actually a problem because when you have a lot of voices talking into you, you start thinking that, oh, maybe I shouldn't play this, maybe I shouldn't do this move, and then you're kind of ready, but no, and it gets into all types of weirdness.
What you find happening in this format is that you fully really utilize the full length of the rope every single time. I mean, not every turn, but like you see a lot more people just kind of roping until the end and using that time as a resource.
Exactly. So we have a villain, we have another Reaver Hunter triggering the trio effect right here. And there's the Scourge for 2 of them.
Yep. And that is a really, really powerful swing. I mean, the Igni here is going to be able to hit literally nothing at this time. Ryuji's spreading out his points beautifully. He has the last play with the Tibor, which was always going to force it into Igni range, but he played it last, so it never happened.
Boom. Yeah. Knight elect, like you said. Last card.
Yep. And that's going to go to Ryuji. Game 1 of the set, just from that clean round 3 shutout, forcing him so deep into round 1. Man, that lacerate to start really, really set the course of this game. I mean,
the lacerate got him back.
Yeah,
totally. Absolutely. And then he was just piloting, doing his thing all the way. But it was a really good first game.
The opener with the Hensel, is always contingent on whether or not you're expecting that lacerate. And he lines it up on the melee row, and that's very valuable in most situations because it gets Vest and it gets that 4th commando. But in terms of being able to be hit by that lacerate, it's a huge punish in that case. It really, really gave, in this case, Ryuji a stay for round 1, which eventually ended up winning him the game.
That was perfect, yeah. Forza Italia, go for it. But they have, I mean, the work cut out for them. They're playing against a team that's, like you said, stacked. I mean, all these players are really, really great at the game, take part in the TGOs. So, yeah, and these guys are underdogs. Nobody knows what they're bringing to the table, and that was a great, great game.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I will be announcing before we go into the next game, which we're going to be starting momentarily here, is that we are accepting donations for the prize pool of this tournament. You can use the link below the stream panels if you would like to donate, and 100% of donations will be going directly towards the prize pool of this tournament, which will be ending after several weeks of this Swiss bracket followed by pretty intense playoffs. Yep. I mean, yeah, and here we start the next game. So, basically, as you can see, Team Italy is up 1 point, and this is a conquest format, which means, it means their first player that they put down, Ryuji, is basically out, and Meisling is still in. Right.
Exactly. So, since he won, they have to change decks, and they chose discard Skellige, as you can see. Very popular at the moment. And they're facing Henselt again. So Henselt is back since that deck did not do so well. So they can try again. And what do you think about the matchup, Swim? Do you think it's a good matchup for Skellige?
It's a very, very interesting matchup. I would say it is Skellige favored, but it comes down to some really, really unique nuances, most notably Coral. Coral has the ability to absolutely devastate every possible way that the Henselt deck has of outputting his power, but the Henselt deck has one way to stay in this matchup. It really, really hard, and that is with Kara's Quen. If you Quen your Reaver Hunters, and if there's no way for ships or fog or anything to take that Quen off, it will 100% absorb the entirety of the Coral, and that is a game-winning affair. Now, there is a K20 Sergeant coming out. It's going to be shot down by a Lugos, basically Achilles in at this point making the play just to try to shut it out in case there are no Sergeants in hand, and this is going to do a lot here because, as we can see, there are none. So it forces out the reinforcement, and it'll make the Henselt weaker as well, because at this point, there's less of an easy Henselt target, because he can Henselt the Sergeant, but he only gets one more at this point. Very powerful Lucas coming out there.
He pretty much denied the Henselt over there, but and the Lugos was a perfect play. There we go, one ship, so when he starts discarding, the ship will start hitting, so that's perfect, that's what he wants, especially when you have a lot of units on the board, and so there's a lot of targets for it.
Absolutely. So we can see Meisling here is deciding between Knight Elect and Margarita. Knight Elect is kind of a nice proposition. Obviously, the ship will knock its armor down immediately, and he's actually maybe considering the immune boost. Typically, you save those for Knight Elects to replenish their armor, but at the same time, I mean, you can play the Knight Elect later after the Bran and after the Ermion, and the odds of a ship pinging down its armor at that point, especially with your unit count low. This immune boost is going to tank up his units very nicely against the potential Bran and Ermion here.
So the Brown will play pretty much. He wants to start discarding right now, and he wants the ship to start hitting since it's still on the board. Let's see what he'll go for. Probably, yeah, Olgierd, Morkvarg possibilities, or just the 3. Oh, that's actually interesting. Or the 3 Axemen is one of the options. Of course, Ceres you don't want because she'll resurrect. There we go.
Yep. So a pretty typical discard of Ceres, Morkvarg, Olgierd. And of course, as we all know from these discard decks, the Morkvarg and the Olgierd coming back every round just start this train where you get Ceres back every round. Pretty high tempo play coming out from Meisling, again summoning that Vess. He was able to get the trio out without committing the 3rd Sergeant, and it looks like he's going for a play where he Henselts this Redanian Knight Elect, right? He gets the trio off from the Knight Elect, so he doesn't need the 3rd Sergeant, and he's just abandoning his 3rd Sergeant and going for it this way, which I think I agree with under these circumstances.
I think the next play pretty much will be the Pirate. I mean, you want to get those Pirates out of your deck, and you want the ship to hit again. But I mean, the points looking right now is 40 to 28. He still needs a lot to kind of get back into the game. And I think, like, if you're playing Scalia, you don't really have to commit like first round. But I know that the players always want to. Right now, we have the tendency to committing first round and kind of trying to win that one. Then it's kind of a little bit easier to have the upper hand in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Achilles being, I'm sure, a little disappointed that the warship from the last turn didn't ping off the 2 armor from the Knight Elect. And there's a res. Yep. So just 2 more reses and he'll be able to get his Ceres out this turn. But it looks like he's not really going to be able to do that unless he finds into some raiders with either Ermion or Udalric, which might just end up happening because these round 1s in this matchup tend to go on very, very long. So Meisling is thinking right now about like how he's going to utilize these resources. I mean, the summoning circle in his hand is a little bit awkward. Typically, you combo that card with Operator, you give them a Reaver Hunter, and then you clone the one that they play. He doesn't really have a good way of getting value out of it otherwise, except by maybe using it on Donar. Using summoning circle on Donar is pretty great in this matchup because the Skellige deck is pretty susceptible to running out of cards, and stealing a captain out of the deck is pretty great. And you can unlock whatever Donar locked. So he might choose to use it in that way. Goes ahead and Igni's here.
Igni on the board.
A pretty great way to just swing the points there, and he's just taking up value over time with this Verdanian Knight Elect. He looks like he's not really interested in Henselting out those Knight Elects this round.
He's waiting with it.
Yeah, he's waiting with it. I mean, it's more value over time to use it earlier, but I guess he's not sure if he wants to commit it to this round or not. I mean, Henselt is a very powerful card, and being able to save it for potentially using Hunters later can be extremely good as well.
Yeah, I think he's taking it step by step. I mean, he's looking at what Achilles is gonna bring to the table. He has the point advantage, so he doesn't have to play the Hensel right now. So we'll see. This looks quite interesting.
Presumably he's playing around Coral. I mean, when you commit that much power to that row, especially because the points that the Knight Elect generate over time are just more points on that row, I mean, you're just enabling something very ridiculous out of Coral, something potentially like a 50-point Coral at that point, and that's just absolutely game-winning. So he needs to be very, very careful about stacking too much points. So he's thinking about that Margarita. He can use that Margarita here pretty proactively on that Pirate Captain as a solid 11-point swing. There's nothing stopping him from doing that. And of course it's locked, so it stops growing as well. But he's thinking about Kara as well. Kara is a very passive play. I mean, like I said, you typically Kara up your Quen just to protect the Reaver Hunters from an inevitable Coral later. Thinking about all of his options. I mean, he definitely has a lot of lines of play in this scenario. He's thinking about, again, how much he wants to commit to this round. Like we saw in last game, if the Northern Realms player, Hensel particularly, ends up committing too much to round 1, they might just not have a way to be able to deal with round 3.
And we see 2 LX come down on the board. That's crazy.
Yep. And that's going to start ramping up value.
to
Now
49.
he's going to be very afraid of a coral, but we know that there's no coral in Achilles' hand. Achilles, if he wants to stay in this round, he has to find a coral with the 2 cards from Ermion or the 2 cards from Udalric.
Exactly.
Now, it's a 9-card deck, so you're looking at 4 out of 9 odds.
It's doable. He can try.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
he might. He's thinking about it.
And if he finds Raiders from either, he can get his Ceres back, which is a little bit of extra points into this round.
Yeah, the Scalia deck is like super consistent. That's why it has been chosen by players, and we kind of see this card coming back in a meta that is mainly dominated by monsters and Dagon, which is probably most likely got banned here. So really interesting to see Scalia do so well. And there we go. There's one more Raider. Kept Sigdrifa. That's actually good. He has the Donar, he has the Uldaric, but we see a pass.
Yep, the pass is presumably just in terror of that coral. I mean, staying into a round like this that you pretty much have already lost if there's the coral in hand is just a no-no. So what he'll accomplish by doing this is forcing Achilles 2 cards down to be able to win and rendering that coral potentially useless. He has the Quen in hand off of the Kara, and the only coral targets remaining after the hunters are Quen are the Temerian infantrymen. So this is a great pass coming down by Meisling. I really like this. It just shuts out the coral's potential value and might have punished, if Achilles had coral in hand, a pretty greedy, like, just staying on coral.
Yeah, he had to run away from that one. I mean, he was anticipating that coral to actually come, and with 1 row being stacked as it was here, it would just be insane amount of value. So great pass, and they were on even points. So Achilles still had to play 1 more card, so he had to get back into the game in some way. So he's down 1 card, I think, and yeah, he has to come back from this right now.
Yep. So here, yeah, I mean, he won the round, but a large part, I mean, from Achilles' perspective, a large part of generating this small carryover, and why we see this small carryover, like Solana Harpy Eggs, like these Morkvarg and Ceres cards, you know, just kind of like somewhere between 5 and 15 points of carryover. Most of the reason this carryover is powerful right now is because it's insurance against losing round 1. It prevents the opponent from passing. But at the same time, committing 2 cards down, that carryover starts to look definitely a little bit less good. Because, I mean, Meisling will still be able to beat it. And, I mean, for example, Achilles, right now he's afraid to pass. He's afraid what happens if he passes is that the Temerian infantrymen win in a single card, and that being the last coral target means that there's no way that he'll be able to get any value out of coral for the rest of the game. And Skellige is pretty reliant on getting at least some value out of coral to be able to ensure their victories. He goes ahead and passes here. Yep. So what do we see as options for Meisling? I mean, does he have a way to be able to win in a single card? It doesn't seem so. So he's gonna have to commit 2 cards here. He's looking at Kara Quen and maybe a Dandelion on top of that. Although that's actually not enough. That would be 1 point short.
Enough.
Yeah. Wow. That amount of points is actually looking really troublesome. I mean, Meisling just absolutely wishes he had a Temerian infantryman right now. I mean, he could be thinking of going for a YOLO Dijkstra, but that's incredibly risky.
Yeah, that's too crazy, especially in a tournament. In casual play, you can do it, but here, no.
Yeah, that's true. But it is a super awkward situation. He sees, I mean, K20 Sergeant and Dandelion doesn't end up being enough either, though. It's just enough to tie because it doesn't pull a Blue Stripes Commando, yeah? So he goes for the K20 Sergeant, and he's ready to Kara for it. Ooh, that's very committal. He's locking himself out of Quen. A very interesting play here.
Boom.
So he's
1 point ahead.
Yeah, I mean he takes the round, and he takes the round pretty solidly. But his round 3 is
nice.
Yeah.
And they're uneven cards at the moment, so this is really good. We see that Ceres ticking down. We see a Raider that he doesn't. I mean, an Axeman that he doesn't really need. Axeman Raider. So I call him Axeman. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have axes, man. So
yeah,
I mean,
because in Polish it's Axeman.
oh, well, that's probably why then. Yeah, I mean, he's still got these Raiders in deck, and these Raiders are going to go pretty big. I mean, very specifically, if you look at Achilles' resources, the Ceres is at 2 points, right? The Sigdrifa reses 1 card, and the Udalryk specifically will probably find a Raider, and it'll probably choose the other card, discarding it, which pulls the Ceres out. Pretty good position for Achilles to be in here, but he needs to be able to find that Coral off of the Udalryk. I mean, that just kind of needs to happen here.
That needs to happen for sure.
And that is kind of, in some ways, potentially going to determine the outcome of this game. I mean, whether that can happen or not. Like, we do see a kind of awkward hand from Meisling. I mean, we only see 2 hunters. Don't see an operator. I mean, he might Dijkstra one out. If he is interested in Dijkstring an operator, he's got to do it before he plays the other hunter. And he doesn't really have a good line for Summoning Circle either. Presumably, I mean, he can wait for the Sigdrifa, try to Summoning Circle. There's not really anything he would even go for, though.
Yeah, there's nothing that would really help him at the moment. So we'll see. What
he did have a discarded Freya there, actually. Ooh. So this is already enough to pull out Ceres, because the Freya will chain. Presumably, he's looking to res his Skirmishers. A pretty big power play there.
That's not triggers.
Yeah, that's big.
There we go.
Huge swing in points, and Meisling doesn't really have a way to answer that. I mean, Margarita can't reset that Skirmishers because it's base value, and there's no Igni to be found in hand. Okay, so he goes ahead and looks like he's looking at his options a little bit.
He's considering what to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tricky for him getting value out of that Margarita here. I mean, he needs to be able to use it on a captain, and that's not bad. Oh, and he finds the operator.
There we go.
That's exactly what he wanted there.
That's what he wanted.
So now he's enabled his Summoning Circle. The problem is that Achilles has the last play here. Not only does he have the last play, but he has Udalryk, so he has the 2 last plays. So he knows he can play out this Reaver Hunter after Meisling has passed and is unable to Summoning Circle it. And Meisling knows that too, so he's going to have to find alternative value out of the Summoning Circle. We will probably see him Summoning Circle the Grimmest when that comes down, just to get some value out of it. Because Achilles knows that these decks run Summoning Circle, and he knows that. He must be very afraid to play his Reaver Hunter.
He's ready for it, but he just doesn't want to commit with anything pretty much. Because whatever he copies will not be really good for him.
Exactly. So, I mean, he's just putting his power on the board here. We're going to see Margarita being able to swing for a decent amount of points, but it's actually going to be trading down to that captain.
There she goes in.
Yep. I mean, even though it does reset and even though it swings for a lot of value, I mean, at the same time, like, if you look at the exact trade that just happened, it's still a 4-point silver to a 7-point bronze. Like, that's definitely not the kind of value you're looking for in your Margaritas, even though it is quite solid.
Yeah, and Achilles is ahead on points, so he has the upper hand in some way, you can say. And we'll see what he'll play. I mean, he's still waiting with Udalryk. Do you think that's actually a good thing to wait and not play him? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he wanted to wait for a row that Meisling would commit to, so that if he draws Coral from it, he'll be able to punish more. Ooh. And we don't see Coral. That is huge.
No Coral.
That is a. I mean, that Coral basically at this point, since there's no Quen, was a potential decider for the game. Like, that is an immense amount of value. And
Udalryk is a big commitment. And without Coral, it's just you commit and you cannot interact. So, boom. That ruined the game plan.
So he has the Grimmest. They both basically have Grimmest off of Summoning Circle. The trio is going to come down, and the trio is going to smack either a really big Skirmisher or a really big Captain. This Warship in hand is just going to be dead. It's just a 6-point Warship. He'll play it out here just to get it out, but he is not happy about having that card in his hand.
Not really going to do anything. It's just a 6-power body on the table, and that's pretty much it.
So we see Meisling playing out his hunters on different rows, playing as if the Coral is there. Which is the safe thing to do, of course. Although at the same time, not getting that trio is a big deal. I mean, it in theory could cost him the game. He might have been in a position where he had to assume that the Coral doesn't come down, because even if there's a Coral,
scared.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a safe play.
Absolutely.
You have to space him out. I mean, he's expecting something of any type of removal, and Coral, if they were all on the last row, would be just devastating. And he doesn't know if his opponent has the Coral or not. And there we go. Boom.
Absolutely. So here's that Summoning Circle on that Grimmest. Yep, roaring up. He goes for the Margarita instead of the Grimmest. Huh. He just plays it out on melee. He's got the Hunter out on melee, and we're going to see the 17 points from the captain here, being able to swing the value of this match.
There we go. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
He got back from it. When we thought that he's not going to make it, he actually made it back and won. That was just perfect. And I think, he didn't know. I mean, he could go for the trio, but he didn't know if it will actually work for him. So 2-0. Wow. That's crazy.
And I mean, that's an underdog 2-0 as well. I mean, Club Penguin has some of the most tournament and ladder proven players in Gwent to date. And they are finding themselves up against the wall here. I mean, they are 2-0. The Hentel deck, piloted by Meisling, has cost them 2 games at this point, and they still need to win with that.
Yeah, they're probably going to choose something totally different right now. They're like, oh, scratch it, we have to do something different. With, of course, Skoyatel being the best pick. Ha, ha, ha. But probably, we'll see. Team Italy, I mean, unbelievable performance. And although the deck that we saw, the Skellige deck, is known to everybody who plays on the ladder, here is performing super, super well, super consistent. But the last round was pretty much decisive. And it was just crazy. Without Coral, he managed to do it. And most of the people say, yeah, I just need Coral. You win the game. And there we go. That was really, really nice. Exciting stuff.
Absolutely. And I mean, so Team Italia, or Gwent Italia, has one player left that they need to win with. It's Lee 92 Fra. And Vishra needs to win one game at the same time as Club Penguin need to win with all of their players at this point.
Yeah, and this is a player that started like super early. When he was age of 8, he played Yu-Gi-Oh for the first time, then played Magic the Gathering, and then played other CCGs. And yeah, I think if you're a person that you start at such an early age and you play card games, learning other card games is a lot easier for you. So wow.
Okay, that's crazy. We actually, from that last game, or over the course of like when that game was being played out, we did receive 2 donations, those being one from Mati, donated and says, my Gwentlemens, and one from Summoning Circle, who would like to inform us that it's not a meme card.
Wow. Making a statement.
A $50 donation by Summoning Circle. Thank you, Summoning Circle. I'll be putting you in all of my decks.
Me too. That's simple. Going in tonight. Wow, that was a really good match. I mean, without Coral, that was perfect.
Yep. So we're going to game 3 here, and they're sticking to Meisling. They know that. Yeah.
There we go. Skoyatel called it. I haven't seen the footage. So that's actually perfect.
Looks like an Eithne deck.
Ooh, Eithne, nice.
Yeah,
with a Frost there.
Frost,
Frost, that's nice. That's nice.
Weather kind of scorched lineup. Yeah, these are some of the interesting decks that you see in tournaments. I have not once encountered any sort of like Scorched Squirtel with Frost, and just due to the mechanic of being able to ban stuff and, being able to expect what opponents are going to ban, you can really see some like kind of new and innovative techniques being used in this format.
Interesting that he's keeping the Elven Mercenaries. I would get rid of him, but he has 3 on hand, and he's not. I don't know. He's gonna mulligan one. I would. I mean, Scorched Skoyatel is something that spoiler I kind of brought to the tournament. For me, it's the best. It's the best. It's the deck that I like. It's very controlly. It's super interactive, but I haven't seen a version with Frost in it, so I'm really looking into this game. Of course, you have Shiru Villain; those are staples. Brienne, because you want to get her as big and juicy as possible. Wow, that's gonna be a good one.
Just to talk about this matchup, I mean, this is a matchup that is pretty favorable for Scorched Skoyatel. It is gonna be a tricky one to win. Because, namely, Scorched Skoyatel is obviously very good at repeatedly. I mean, right now, we can see his hand. He has 4 Scorches in his hand, right? Because he has Scorch, Villain Tread, Mirth, Chiru, and Eithne for another Scorch. 4 Scorches. That is going to absolutely devastate.
That's what I like.
Any of those lined up units. So Meisling and the rest of Club Penguin are gonna have to play extremely carefully here.
Extremely carefully.
They're gonna have to think really hard about Redanian Knight Elect positioning and exactly like how they might want to stagger their units with other tools, such as maybe even Dandelion, to be able to prevent those Scorches.
I'm really interested why they're sticking to the Mistling and the same deck and not exploring anything totally different. And the Squirtle choice was just perfect because for me, this deck has been very successful against any type of Reaver Hunter deck. So yeah. I'm excited for this one.
The idea that they're probably employing is one about information. They know that they need to win with this deck to win the series, right? But they don't want to show one of their... they're going into this one blind. They know that they have to win with this deck, but they don't want to show another deck before figuring out what the opponent's deck is. And we see that first Scorch coming down. Effectively swinging for a net 10 points, but doing something much more important than that, which is denying Henselt's ability to pull out K20 Sergeants.
Exactly, he denied the ability once again, and he just got rid of 5 points on his side. So for him, it's not a big loss. So he could perfectly do it. This is looking like in favor of the Squirtle deck, and we'll see. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, he knows he's sitting on 3 more Scorches. That is 1 down, and Meisling's thinking that
Frost.
1 Scorch down, and that Frost goes ahead and
Frosts
hits,
from the Elven Mercenary, and that's what he pretty much wants to do. You want to thin as much as possible. I'm interested if this deck is actually running Siri Dash or not, because I've seen different variations with some actually having Milva. So we'll pretty much see what will happen here. That's quite interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
So here we're seeing these Knight Elects coming out. These are going to be lining up for Scorch, though. The Knight Elect in the middle gets lined up, right? Actually, the Frost is actually going to roll between which target it wants to buff here, actually. And whether the Scorch is lined up is going to be dictated by that. So Lifra is thinking about what he wants to do here. He's thinking, if this round's going long, if Meisling's getting value every turn with 2 points of armor on that Knight Elect, I'm best do the same with my Dragoon, just start ramping up my value.
Yeah. You need that Dragoon as early as possible when you have the targets on hand to give him buffs. So he has to play it, and that's normally what you want to do. You want to get it as early as possible, get the points down, because the problem with the Squirtle deck is that you don't get a lot of value compared to your opponent, but you also don't want all this value because you don't want to Scorch yourself by mistake, which normally doesn't happen on tournaments of this, let's say, magnitude. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And there we see a very early pass coming out by Meisling. Typically, with these decks, you don't see that early of a pass because Henselt needs to be able to win round 1 in order to not get forced out of all of its tools for round 2. But I kind of like that pass. He actually knows that it might be tricky for Lifra to be able to beat this, at least without committing any resources. I mean, you see that Dolbothana Trapper, but if you play that out,
it's a good pass.
It dies to the Frost. He can't play the Trapper out and have the trap actually go off here.
Exactly. You can't use the Trapper, and that's a problem.
He's stuck on his hand. He can win with Shiru because the Frost will tick down, and that will be enough. But committing Shiru's big gold body this early...
Sure, you wanna leave him till later always.
Typically, yeah. And he's going
for it. Oh, there we go.
He goes for the Shiru. Looks to be... We'll have to see what he's going to choose to convert here. Converting one of his Elven Mercenaries into a Scorch.
That's an interesting choice, but I think it's the best one he actually had.
Yep. He wants to keep the Yavin, presumably because he just has other Scorches to be able to deal with it. And he values...
Yeah, with the Yavin, he can play it now, get additional card, sift through his deck, look for what he actually needs.
Yep. So here, I mean, he finds himself with the Dragoon to ramp up. I mean, typically, when the Squirtle player gets control of the game, and most importantly, when they do so without really committing too many Dragoons...
Hard pass.
Yeah, there's that hard pass. And he's going for the card advantage here.
Well, you have Operator here. You can make another Reaver Hunter. That's one of the possible plays. You have Dandelion that he can use. And of course, the Summoning Circle is back for blood.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I mean, well, Operator might be the least committal thing he could do. The problem with Operator is that when you're using Summoning Circle, you want to Operator in round 3. You don't want to give the opponent the opportunity to mulligan the Hunter. That's the most specific thing. If the Operator's here, the Hunter just gets a mulligan and the Summoning Circle is dead. So he actually needs to use something else. Here comes the Margarita.
Wow, interesting choice.
He's thinking in this matchup, I'm not going to get much value out of her. I mean, she can lock an unbuffed Dragoon, and that'll prevent a decent amount of value over time. Looking at a 9-card round, actually a pretty good amount of value over time, yeah. And that archer is a great tool for being able to set up these scorches. Yeah.
That and Mektabraka, you can do crazy stuff. Set up everything for one scorch and then just play it.
Yeah, this round three. This round 3 is going to be all about these scorches. It's going to be about Meisling trying to stagger the scorches with Dandelion, and he can even use Summoning Circle as well. And Lifra trying to align the scorches with Merg, Dabraki, and Archer. It's all going to be about the scorch alignments. That's completely what both of these players and both of these teams at this point are playing for. So we see an early Dragoon coming out, just ramping up a little bit of value over time.
Yeah, like I said, you need the Dragoon as early as possible. Play it out, get your units up to some decent value, and then just play them from your hand. But you can't go overboard with it. I mean, you have to time your scorches pretty well, but like you said, the archers and the Mektabraka really help with this.
Yeah, I mean... man, this is such a head game. So Lifra knows that he has the last play. Meisling doesn't actually know that Lifra has the last play. And they're both looking at this Reaver Hunter in Lifra's hand. Lifra knows that if he plays it at all, there will be a Summoning Circle to copy it. That being said, he might not necessarily mind that because of his scorches.
There we go. Shackles or Frost, of course. Frost. I like how everybody still plays the Elven Mercenary on the first row.
Yep. Yeah, people are used to the olden days.
Mm-hmm. The good old days.
Yeah. Absolutely. So here we see Temerian Infantrymen coming out, staggered by Dandelion, of course, just to not align them into Scorch. And here we're seeing he's thinking about trapping. I mean, he presumably won't get too much more value out of Trapper for the rest of this round, but he might be having second thoughts. I mean, he's like I said, it's all about the Scorches. That's what's going through his mind right now. It's like, okay, he knows that there's 2 Reaver Hunters in hand of Meisling. He knows one of them is a 4 and he knows one of them is a 5. This is all information he has. Well, he doesn't know that there's not more than 2, I suppose. There could be the last one. Yep.
There we go. Ooh, marching orders. Marching orders can get him the another Elven Mercenary, or he can use the Harper support.
He's used all of his mercenaries, right?
He used.
He turned one into a Scorch. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yep. So the marching orders, I'm not 100% sure what that will be pulling actually. Huh. Yeah. I mean, obviously, since these players are using closed deck lists, it goes for the marching orders. That could be an archer at 5 points. I don't know if there would be anything lower than that. Could be something silver as well. We'll have to see. But here we're seeing Meisling consider his Taller. Now he's aligned for the Scorch, but he can't get out of the Scorch. He wants to put the Taller in a row that he wants to Igni. And he's not necessarily sure which row that will be. I mean, the row that's closest to is the Siege, but he might be thinking, if nothing else gets played in Siege, what am I going to do for this Igni? And we can actually see Lifra's hand. Yeah, we can see Lifra's hand. Meisling is actually better off in this case putting Taller on the ranged row to enable an Igni there. But he'll only know that if he waits a couple turns before playing Taller. That's ideally unranged, but he needs information if there's actually going to be units played there. But you think about the Elven Mercenaries, you think about the Trapper, you might not think about the Mektabraka because not every deck runs it. So we'll see. Plus, the marching orders might get him another archer, so another archer is also good for him to kind of get everything ready for a Scorch, and that's what he's going to be doing right now. That's where he's going with this. I mean, he sees those 5s, he wants to align those 5s. Now the Yavin is blocking these for now, but it's not only ticking down to the Frost, but it can also get scorched out. It can also get punished by something like Merg Dabraki. He's hovering this Hensel. There is, I believe, one more Reaver Hunter left in deck. There we go. So it's just a tool to pull out one Hunter, I believe. Or is it 2? It is 2. So he pulls them out. Now, he intentionally, with the Dandelion, he made sure to buff one of the Hunters, but not the other one. And that's specifically what that does is it creates a blocker for Scorch. So if you look at his board, he's got a 14.
Look at that swing. 82 points to 12.
That is really huge. I mean, that trio's ability, Hunters coming out, buffing themselves and smashing that Archer, plus that Vest being buffed as well, it creates these shelves that are going to be protecting him from the Scorch. Now we can see Lifra has 3 Scorches in hand. 3 Scorches. Right now the Scorch has the 14, Then it'll hit the 11 because of course Yavin is gonna be damaged by this frost. And then it'll hit both 10s. And Leafer is going for it. He goes for the Merktabraki, aligning all of the 10s. Yavin goes down to 10.
Perfect.
All 5 cards are 10. Now he can block the Scorch with a Taller. So he blocks the Scorch with a Taller. Now he's vulnerable to Igni, but he knows this deck doesn't run Igni because it would be very, very weird. So the Scorch is currently being just completely shut out with this Taller, and the Yavin is going to be dropping down from the Frost, dodging it, even if the Taller gets dealt with in whatever way.
I mean, he can get rid of the Taller and then go for the 10s, but
you have to Scorch your own Taller, right?
Yeah, your own points, and you need those points.
Oh, he's thinking about it. He's thinking about
like, should I do it? No, but it's 11 points.
I mean, it all depends on like what he's thinking about pulling out with marching orders as well. Yeah, wow, this could be very, very close. I mean,
most likely he'll get an archer from the marching orders.
Meisling is 50 points up, but that can swing really quickly if these Scorches come down.
Is it villain time? No, he's thinking. He has like it's a problem. I mean, that Taller play pretty much stopped him and his great master plan. So we'll see. We'll see.
He's looking at that immune boost. He's looking at
villain time. Yeah.
He's looking at putting his units up a little bit, getting some points. Now, if he immune boosts, he could immune boost. Well, he's thinking about a lot of options. He's got another Reaver Hunter as well, and that Reaver Hunter will actually block their strengths. He goes for the Summoning Circle. Oh. Summoning Circle hits the Merktabraki. Is he de-staggering his 10s here? He has to be, right? I mean, that's what he's going for. So he hits. Okay, wow.
Of course. Yeah.
And that creates
a great play.
Perfect shelves. That creates absolutely perfect shelves because it looks like these 10s are aligned, right? The Vest and the Reaver Hunter, but he's playing one more Hunter from hand. This Hunter from hand, everything gets buffed by 4. So Meisling is sitting on a 15, a 14, a 13, a 12, and a 10.
Wow.
There's no units aligned for the rest of these Scorches.
There we go. Keeping the Thaler there. Yeah. You want the Thaler. I mean, we were talking before that he doesn't want to place the Thaler. I mean, if he places it, he probably wants to get rid of it with Igni. And now he doesn't want to get rid of it because that's the card that keeps him safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Lifra knows for a fact that there's one more Reaver Hunter in hand because it was cloned by Operator. So Lifra knows that there's one Hunter in hand, and if he just waits, he doesn't have to kill the Taller, right? But he played the Villain Treadmarth a little bit early. Like, there's nothing really stopping Meisling from just allowing that Villain Treadmarth to go off on the Taller, right?
There we go.
If Lifra, and there's the Scorch on his own Taller.
He has to Scorch himself. I mean, it will happen with Villain, so the sooner he does it, the better.
Oh, and there's that immune boost. Beautiful immune boost. Blocking Villain Treadmarth with, looks like he's...
Perfectly.
Yeah. Okay, so it blocks Villain Treadmarth with Vess here. And Vess... Vess sacrifices himself so the Hunters can live. And these Hunters are cleaning up. That is a powerful, powerful series of play by Meisling there. I mean, that just completely shuts him out. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that Villain was maybe played a little bit early. If it was played a little bit later, maybe when the Reaver Hunters were out. But still, I mean, with that Thaler block and everything, it's just... Wow, and look at those points. It's 82 to 30.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he has a Trapper, but the Trapper is only 13 points. But you can still use the 8th name, of course. There we go. Saskia. And most likely, Scorch, of course. Boom.
And there's just no way for Lifra to be able to make up this difference. I mean, that re-triggering that trio. Yeah, wow.
40 points, yeah. Won't work.
Very, very impressive plays coming out there by Meisling.
I thought they had it in the bag, but...
Yeah, exactly. He was able to dodge those Scorch effects beautifully. I mean, the well-timed Taller and summoning circling the Merktabraki to be able to de-stagger his units.
That was actually perfect, using the Merktabraki on your own units to run away, because he knew he had the information that he's playing against a deck that has a lot of Scorches, so he had to. So that was just crazy. Thaler MVP.
Okay, and we've had a couple more donations roll in over the course of that game as well. Mr. Poopy Butthole has donated.
Nice nickname.
Has donated $10. Your boy Michael.
Wow.
Has donated another $10, and
So many circle again?
Yeah.
Another 50?
No. Lastly, we have maybe the real life coach putting forward $20. He'd like to say, yeah, zoom.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We have the best community here.
I mean, so far over the course of these donations, that is a total of roughly $100 more that are going to go to the prize pool for over $100 in this case. That's going to go straight to the prize pool for this tournament, being split among the victors of the playoffs at the end. So we'll have to see how those stack up. Should be very, very exciting. I mean, already when this tournament, it's already so incredibly stacked. I mean, there's so many top players. Like, I mean, basically, so
many great teams.
Everyone you're queuing into, it's like, oh no, why did I queue into them? You know, like when it's decided, like you know what I mean. And
when you look at your alternatives, are as bad. I mean, us looking at who we're pretty much seated against, we're like, okay, is this gonna be good? Oh no. And Gwentlemen Cows is also a great team, and like all the community members are taking part, and these people, they just sit and play the game all the time. So yeah, it's for us it's tough, but for this, I mean, anything can happen in Gwent, and it's really, really awesome. And sometimes it's random effects like you saw, but sometimes it's just pure skill and running away with the game by having a Thaler that is blocking everything. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really interesting final set there. I'd love to see how this one continues, because if Club Penguin pulls it back from that 2-0, just being down 2-0 right away, that'll be a pretty legendary swing.
Brown.
Oh, and we see Mago stepping up.
There we go, Eithne again.
Okay, so it's going to be discard versus the same Eithne deck. Now, interestingly enough, leaders are actually locked in, but every other aspect of the deck is swappable. Players and leaders are locked in, but Vishra has actually gone and switched it up. Yeah, exactly. He switched to the deck he was bringing dwarfs instead. And that's a pretty interesting tactic. I mean, it's going to do very powerfully, but in this matchup, it could get a little punished by the Coral.
Yeah, dwarves have difficulty, but if they played they couldn't play. If they played the Scourge version, for me, it's even harder to go against Skellige. So interesting choice. We'll see how this deck actually does. But Coral is a problem, like you said.
Yeah, I said I really like the Eithne pick, because given that leaders are locked but the deck slots are flexible, Eithne being both the choice of, the Scorched Scoia'tael and the dwarfs, allows you to have that flexibility that most other factions kind of don't have. I mean, these are two incredibly different decks that use the same leader.
Cranberry.
Yep. And the cat comes out of the bag right away. I mean, Mago and Club Penguin realize immediately what they're facing here. And this is a dwarf deck. It looks like
that's enough information.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's only so many different ways to run dwarfs. It looks like a relatively standard dwarf deck. We've got Dwarven Mercenary, Dennis Cranberry.
Yeah, and all the units that help you with buffing. So the Elven Mercenaries is lean there, so making those dwarves bigger and bigger, and trying to get away with the game. And then of course the carryover, which is insane.
Absolutely. And the biggest obstacle Mago and Club Penguin have here is that opening hand. The mulligan phase really wasn't kind to him, and he ended up with a hand of 2 pirates, 2 raiders, no Ermion to use the raiders, and an Olgierd, which you preferred to discard off the Bran. So, and a captain, which you don't even necessarily need to use early here. Definitely.
To quote JJ Pasak, feels bad, man. That hand is terrible.
Yeah. That's definitely going to be a little bit rough. Just being able to play round 1, because of course against dwarfs you need to be able to play that round 1. We might be We might be seeing some interesting and unique plays out of Mago here because, I mean, he's going to have to mix it up to be able to deal with this situation.
Yeah, it's quite difficult for him to go away with round one. And like you said, you want to win round one because then the carryover is just too much and you have to face it off in round two and your opponent is sitting in a comfortable spot while you have to work hard to kind of deny this carryover and go to round three. So this is going to be interesting.
So one thing that happened here that was actually very subtle was that Donar, when played immediately by Mago, stole the Adrenaline Rush out of Lifra's deck. That is absolutely, absolutely huge. That is a gigantic play for Mago because what it does is it prevents Lifra from being able to Adrenaline Rush via Ithlin, right?
Exactly. And that Adrenaline Rush steal is just perfect. Perfect.
I mean, that is the Dwarf deck's lifeblood. Basically, how the Dwarf deck plays is they play to win round one, they play to get that value, and in the event that they lose round one, then they just Adrenaline Rush double two cards with Ithlin, and they don't mind. But now, Lifra needs to win round one, kind of.
Yeah, he needs to pretty much buff everything and keep that carryover going. Oh, and look, it's a pass.
Yeah, we see a very early pass coming by Mago. It's an interesting pass because he does know that he took the Adrenaline Rush, but he's making the call that even after that, I mean, with that hand, he just can't win that round. So he goes ahead and gets out of this one early.
Yeah, his hand wasn't very spectacular, so he just decided to pass. I think it's a good call, but the problem will be that he still have some these mercenaries here standing. But yeah, of course he has Olgerd and Mogvark.
And we see a Clan Heime Scald in Meisling's hand. Bit of an interesting choice, but it's a great filler card, offering a total of 10 points with Veteran as well.
We see one ship, 2 raiders, 1 pirate, and I think there's a coral there.
Yep, and that coral is going to be huge here. Now, Maga's setting up for a pretty decent round here. I mean, not having the Ermion is really, really going to hurt his potential. That's probably... Because you've got the warship, but you're only really getting the pirates with it, right? And you're sitting on those raiders that you just can't really get value from. And this is the kind of hand that the discard deck is... It doesn't typically happen, but it is susceptible to this kind of hand where you just can't find that Ermion. If you can't find the Ermion, the deck can just like run out of like kind of card replacement cards and it can just kind of brick itself.
Yeah, you're stuck with raiders on hand. It's just terrible if you don't have a way to discard them, and he doesn't have a way to discard them. Ideally, Ermion would help him, but he doesn't have a way to get to that Ermion. So yeah, he's stuck with those 2 raiders, not really able to do anything with them. And we see here a nice row being stacked and more and more points with the Thunderbolt potion being added. So everything that Coral likes.
Yep. So one of the most important things to note about this matchup, I mean, you can see the hands. You obviously, know exactly what's happening here. It's going to be people playing out their points. Mago's going to save Coral for late, right? And Commander Soren is going to come out twice off of Eithne unless he goes for maybe an Adrenaline Rush instead. But the interesting thing about this matchup is that Lifra runs ways to be able to move units, right? So after he buffs his cards, he can try to dodge the Coral, but Mago knows that. So the biggest question is, when Lifra plays Commander's Horn, does Mago immediately play Coral or wait for the second Commander's Horn? Because a play that a lot of Dwarf deck do against Coral is they play the first Commander's Horn when he does, and then they juke the Coral before the second one is played with Dwarven Mercenaries, and if he had it, Zoltan Shive. That'll be one of the most key decisions going up for the rest of this round. Oh, that's an early Commander's Horn.
Early.
Yeah, he's thinking about it.
He's maybe thinking about maybe he wants to bait out the Coral a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe that's his game plan, but he's going all the way for it. I mean, 53 points to 19. Now you have to some way interact to this. You have to do something because Magos, he just wants to win. And right now it's not really looking good for him.
Yeah, it really isn't. I mean, there's so many points coming out by Lifra. There's access to a second horn. There's the Igni, which is going to be able to find some value in a long round. I mean, it will be able to kill off like an 11 or something. Or, it's not going to be easy. And then, of course, this Ithlan just being able to cast 2 spells, 2 more potions, more value.
That's what we like.
I mean, Coral is basically Mago's only real answer in this hand. He's going to need to be able to get an impressive amount of value from this Coral to be able to stay in this round.
Roar to get some points.
Yep. And what this Roar also does is it triggers Morgvarg's ability, which gives an extra counter to Ceres as well.
Boom.
So Ceres is going to go ahead and come out off of that. A pretty big Grimace to play. I mean, in reality,
Very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. That Grimace came out for 20 points right there. Which is,
that's also a good move. You want to take away the mercenary, to take him to a different row, keep him safe.
Yep. And there we see Lifra playing very, very cheeky around that Coral. He knows that that Coral is a threat, and he's giving up a lot of points to make the Coral worth less. I mean, he Commander's Horn to 4 strength units, and now, 4 units on a row, and now he's dragging his units away, sacrificing more value out of Commander's Horn just to make Coral weaker. Very intelligent plays coming out by Lifra. Mercenary down.
Ooh, first light. Rally into another defender.
And that gives him a little bit of adrenaline rush, although he looks like, I mean, especially as soon as he realizes that there's not going to be Ermion, he's definitely going to be transitioning into like a 2-0 kind of situation. And we already have that Igni enabled as well for a 15-point swing. Yeah, I mean, given how carefully Lifra has been playing around this Coral, it might be... I mean, is he going to have enough? The captains are coming out.
Doesn't look too good.
This is going to be close, but it does not look too good for Maga. Here's the Donar coming back.
Doesn't look too good, but like you said, it's probably going to be super close.
Yeah. I mean, there's the Eithne. There's presumably the Saskia off of the Eithne. Igni flips for 11, 2 captains. Now, what Mago might do is he might manually discard the Raiders at the end of the hand. This is a trick that you see employed in certain situations near the end where you let yourself rope out and discard a Raider when it's your only choice or when you need it. But the problem with that in this situation is that he wants to play Coral as late as possible. So if he manually discards Raiders, that means he has to play Coral earlier than he would normally like, or hope that the RNG will discard a Raider instead of Coral. Which is a bit of a tall order.
Yeah, it's difficult. Also, like the game should probably have a mechanic that lets you discard in a different way. Just putting that out there.
Yeah. Leaks. Okay, so here he's playing the Raiders manually from hand. He's not going for anything cheeky here. It looks like we're just seeing Ithlan smash power. So the question is, how is this math going to swing out? Is this going to be enough? The Coral's biggest target right now is Lifra's melee row. Lifra's melee row is valued at... there's the Roach coming out there as well.
There we go.
So Lifra's melee row is 60 points. Coral is going to be hitting effectively a 62-point board, and it's going to be coming out at 5. So Coral hits for
everything on the middle
36 points. Yeah, it hits even a little bit more than that exactly, because the middle row is your target.
Still has the Igni that he can utilize pretty well.
So it's a 38
Raider play.
Yeah. So the Igni comes down, kills the 12. It's a 38-point Coral, 50 points from Mago's hand, but 50 points is not going to be enough. It's going to be 16 point short on Mago's end. That is rough. Yeah, the deck switch from Lifa, I really like that deck switch. I mean, knowing that he brought the Eithne has the flexibility of being able to change. That is devastating. So that is going to be the victor.
Wow.
Yeah, that is going to be the victor of our first set.
Easy.
Italy wins out over Club Penguin by 3-1.
Wow.
Pretty impressive series there.
Forza Italia, like I said in the beginning, they made it. That's incredible. Yeah. And changing the deck to dwarves at the last moment was great. I mean, your opponent is expecting something totally different, and then there you go with dwarves. And with all those points coming in, and that hand that you see from Magos, he couldn't really interact in any way. So he wasn't let's say the favorite in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, I really like how Gwent Italy played that. I like the switch from the decks. it was, I mean, like you said, you said early on that you expected some like kind of new surprising things out of them. That was pretty great. And
that was a surprise.
absolutely. Now, during the course of those matches, well, that last set, we received one final donation.
Wow.
That final donation.
It from?
It was from Delta 65, a relatively known community member. He hangs out in some of the Discords. Yep. And he donated, he's actually playing in TGI. He donated $100 with a comment, going to win the whole thing anyway.
Wow. Nice. I like it.
I like that confidence.
Farmhouse. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that confidence also. Yeah, just like, yeah, I got this, guys. Here's $100. I'll win it back. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, over the course of the last, the last hour that we've been casting this, we've received over $200 of donations.
Wow, that's
100%
awesome.
of that is going straight to the prize pool for the tournament, and that's only after the first week. So this tournament,
that's crazy.
The stakes are kind of like ramping up. Things are starting to get to be on the line, and I really can't wait. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, this tournament was formed by, I mean, it was 30-something teams, 3 players per team. So we're looking at 100 or so of the best Gwent players, and through the course of the next
100 of the best players and CD Projekt Rect. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant you and
us.
me.
No, I mean, come on. I was saying that everybody's good, and then there's us.
Okay. So, you know, during the course of this event, a lot of players are gonna, you know, fall off, and there can only be a certain amount of players coming into the playoffs. It's gonna be a very exciting playoffs, and it looks like there's gonna be a lot of money on the line too. But that concludes the first half of this TGI Week 1 cast. There is going to be a short 5-minute intermission, and the next cast will be a different series. It'll be, I believe, it'll be the one that you're playing in, Borja. You're excited to watch that one?
No, turn off your TVs. Don't watch it.
So
no, I mean, it was really, really good. We're happy, and I'm excited to hear everyone's feedback and actually see how the chat reacts to some of the plays. But yeah, get ready for it.
So the next set is going to be CD Projekt Direct, 3 CD Projekt Direct devs, Bursa, Junkira, and Jame, I believe.
Yeah, and it's Jaume and Vinny. So these are two guys that are responsible. One is responsible for the Spanish community, and the other is for the Brazilian community. And of course, me, you know me.
Yep, and they're going to be against, and of course this is going to be after the intermission, they're going to be against XD Esports International, which is the team, Merchant's team. It consists of Merchant, Petrify, and True Dawn, 3 very proven and veteran players. So we're going to be cutting to that. It's going to be casted by Mogwai and HG3, and we will see you in 5 minutes coming back with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at my picture.
Okay, it looks like we're live and ready to go. How's it going?
We're live. Oh, there we go.
How are you doing?
Hey, HC, how you doing? I'm doing fine.
Good.
Welcome. Obviously, we're super professional here. Welcome to part 2 of the TGI, week number 1. I'm Magwai, joined by HC3, my fellow competitor this week. We won't talk about our game, though.
Yeah, that was just week 1, right? That was a warm-up period.
Yeah,
but now
exactly.
we both got game under our belts, so it's going to help us cast this even better, so we have some experience in the competition as well.
Indeed. So today we're going to feature a match that a lot of you have been looking forward to, actually. It is CD Projekt Red versus XD Esports International. 2 very serious team names right here. As one is, the lineup of CD Projekt Red is actually 3 developers who are linked to the community, and one of them is Polish, the beloved Paweł Burza. And we have Vinny and Jaume, which are both from Brazil and Spain, respectively, which I think is an ounce of destiny here, as I am a Spaniard and a fake Brazilian myself. And they're facing off against XD Esports International. Who are the members of this team?
Yeah, so for XD Esports International, a lot of community members you're going to recognize, mainly for their nice streams. We have Merchant, Petrify, and Trudon. And it's funny looking at these 2 teams in juxtaposition, because for CD Projekt Red, we don't know much about Vinny and Jaume. We don't really know their background in terms of card games, but there's an extensive background in competition and card games for XD Esports International, who apparently are merchanters and living the dream in Los Angeles, according to Merchant. Maybe vaguely associated with Logan Paulers or something to that effect.
Oh, God, no. Oh, yeah, indeed. Merchant is a very well-known streamer and YouTuber, one of the biggest YouTube faces on when it comes to Gwent. And Petrify is an up-and-coming streamer that I've been, aware of, as he's been at the very, not like number 2 or number 3, like at the very top of the ladder of Gwent numerous times, actually. A player that's making a name for himself and that has a very solid background. And True Dawn, I've heard great things about, especially when it comes to the Northern Realms faction, as he's been the innovator of several variants of Radovid Control that were pretty prevalent, in the monster-heavy metagame. As these are 3 titans, man. They're strong players. And CD Projekt Red, has a fight here, and we'll see just how they deliver.
Yeah, and it's exciting to pin them as the underdogs and see what they can produce. And I'm really looking forward to this set. Like you said, it's just a fantastic group of individuals in the match. And I think we're ready to get into the game 1 and really get this going. Get this show on the road.
Hype, let's do this. All right, CD Projekt Red versus Team XD. I'll just go with XD. I won't.
You need to say the whole thing every time.
Yeah, I was going to, but you gotta stop there. Ooh, we see Foltest versus Warbrand to start things off.
Okay, so the first thing you want to note when you see a Foltest show up is how many cards are in the deck. So this is Foltest 27. So we're going to assume that there are light calves in the deck. That's very important to note. There's Foltest 37, there's Foltest 40 occasionally. So the variations tell you a lot of information. And Jaume playing Nilfgaard into this is very interesting. This looks like the type of Nilfgaard that both Vaish and Mago were running in July's TGO. It's a very consistent deck, puts up a good stream of points, but it could fall into a bit of trouble if Foltest is able to hit on his key cards, if he's able to re-scout out a lot of Kedweni Sergeants, because the total number of points you can produce in any individual round is a little bit lower.
Indeed, as we see double Bangarel in the hand of Jaume, which Petrify doesn't seem to have an immediate answer to. Like, the only thing he has is Margarita, which he would preferably want to use later down the line in the match against one of the buffed up spotters. It's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to this. Not like a standard deck that you would see in a format like this, especially because there's other more popular variants of Nilfgaard, when it comes to competitive, because reveal is puts a lot of muscle on the board, but at the same time is also rather linear in its gameplay and a little bit predictable and vulnerable to specific sets of removal. But this is going to be interesting to see because we see double K20 Sergeant, in the hand of Petrify with the Reaver Scout, so he can start getting some massive tempo this round for sure.
Yeah, and if Yame here decides to set up both of his artillery units, he can really threaten any K20s that come to the board. It's going to be difficult for them to stay alive, but instead he decides to go with Cynthia, which I think is a good play as well because he wants to get max points based off of Petrify's hand. So this round, it's going to be an interesting one. It's an important round one, especially in this matchup since we know that there's no carryover coming from the Nilfgaard side of things.
Death Mold right there dropping on Petrify's board, taking down one of the Mangonels as Helm is going to reveal his second Mangonel. Waiting out on Morvrand's ability, because in case you're wondering, Morvrand's ability at least to revealing 3 cards in either player's hand. This can provide with a massive tempo swing if he's running Golems in deck, and if combined with a Mangonel, which will deal 2 damage for each card revealed, regardless of where it is revealed. As here we go. If it is peace you desire, prepare for war. As Morvrand enters the board, reveals one of the Dirtling Foot Soldiers in his hand and 2 opposing cards, leading to a whopping 35 strength stat compared to 18, almost double of what Petrify has. He's got a lot of climbing back to do.
Yeah, good bit of tempo in that play there. It looks like if he wanted to Reaver Scout out, he already played while we were blacked out for a moment, but he can keep pace from the side of the full test things, and being able to see the Dandelion in hand is an interesting bit as well. Dandelion represents a slower tempo play in this round, so it might give Yame the incentive to try and keep pacing him a bit here. Maybe play the Alchemist into the Foot Soldier, try and cycle through the deck a bit more. But this is the point in the round where you could see he's starting to run out of plays that are going to really threaten full test. So he has to play carefully and consider passes at every step here.
Draws into another Mangonel, which is not really the best draw you could want here, as right now he only has 1 source of reveal in his hand, so it's at best an 8 strength bronze, which is not the best thing he could have hoped to draw. As you said, Petrify stacking up the strength. He was far behind, but now he's catching up, and he's got a lot of steam left in that hand, especially with the power of Dandelion combined with the Temeri Infantrymen, which can lead to a massive burst for Petrify. As Helme has to make several key decisions here. He needs to know exactly when to pass, because he won't be able to keep up this pace for long. So he may want to do so while he's still ahead, so he can threaten a card from Petrify. As he's hovering over his hand, he's gonna opt to drop Leo, and he's gonna have to reveal the Cantrella to be able to knock out one of the 7 strength units, as that's gonna be his play. A 13 strength play combined with Mangonel 15. That's pretty much the last. The cavalry's here.
The punishment. That's full test 27 for you. Ooh, that hurts.
I didn't see that coming, honestly. Especially like you said, 27 at the beginning, right? I expect the Dun Battle Light Cavalry more from a more stacked deck, because it's riskier to run it in a deck with closer to the 25 limit, as it can really screw up your draws if you don't get them out. But the light cavalry, man, that was beautiful. Got it back into it, and here we go.
This is a huge punish now, because look at the end of how he doesn't really have any response to try and stay relevant. Especially a card like Pete in this matchup is very important late round to try and answer something like a Reaver Hunter. So if he were to play it now, that's one answer that's out of his deck if he's trying to contest in round 3. Playing Cantarella here, probably going to usher a pass. Ooh, but that's a really good card to see off of the Cantarella. Igni might be a card that could pull him back within reach. Unfortunately, you see that Operator is blocking a juicy Igni on the range row.
And that Operator being played there was no coincidence. That was Petrify finding the exact timing for it, as it happened right after the turn in which the Dun Banner Light Cavalry entered the board. He wanted to make sure that row was not vulnerable to Igni, which is why he developed the Operator that exact turn to prevent that range row from just getting roasted, as we are going to see a pass from Petrify. He believes his opponent cannot get those 19 points that he needs to get on top of him, and it's quite the pass, because I do not see a single play available to Jaime that can enable him to catch up here. So if he wants to take this round, he has to go down -2 in card advantage, or he has to accept a loss at an even card state. I don't know which one is worse, man. Both feel pretty bad.
Yeah, passing even is something that never feels good, but it may have been the play. Going down 2 means that you'll have no way of interfering the row stacking of the Reaver Hunters in round 3. It does allow you to try and bleed out in round 2, but typically Reveal isn't a deck that bleeds well. If you look at his hand, for example, these are cards that you don't want to play out. These are cards that are important for your win condition. He opts to go for the down 2 round victory. Not a great situation. Neither alternative are fantastic, and that's entirely because of the light calves coming out there. And that's something that you have to be very cautious about against every full test deck. So that punished him. He'll probably never let that happen to him again. It's one of those things that happens, and you're like, never again full test. But sometimes you can't even help it.
I've been playing against Northern Realms like for so long, and it still surprises me, man. It feels so bad when it happens. Like you feel like you get slapped in the face, like you feel like a fool a little bit. But it's just like because the card is there, it's part of the. But it's always so. It's so easy to not notice it. It's easy to get excited about the huge lead that you have over your opponent and keep pushing to not let that tempo advantage go. And then you see them coming in, and it's just like, oh man, all this strength that I built, it's almost for nothing. As we see a open pass by Jaime there, trying to get one to ensure, as you said, because he's not so confident as to whether he should bleed him out because his deck is not really the best for that. He opts to just get one card out of him because if he plays one single card, if he's not able to make sure that he stays ahead of his opponent, he doesn't even get that one card back that he gets guaranteed from the open pass. We see Mangono here. Mangono is actually not that bad when you have Vaetier in your hand. Oh, but the replacement of the Guardian Knight.
That's unlucky. And we also see the Dime Bomb. I'm wondering if there might be a Letho in the deck. Letho could actually be a really good answer to Reaver Hunters, but he just didn't find it. It's very unfortunate if he's running it, because if he could take out a row and negate their strength, even during the build-up process, he would be able to deny a lot of strength. It just didn't work out that way, unfortunately.
Pretty sure he went for that, exactly like what you said. Pretty sure he because that was a pretty decent hand considering what he has. But the fact that he replaced there was definitely an indicament of that he was really looking for that Letho. And if he did get that Letho, that combo right there, as you say, could just deny an entire row and its strength.
Yeah, it's like a minimum 26-point combo or something to that effect. So, especially if it denies Reaver Hunter synergy, that's probably his way back into this game. But now he's fighting an uphill battle. There's access to all 3 Reaver Hunters in hand. You could see that the Dandelions, Temerian Infantry are out, and they account for 27 points. Oh man, this is a tough game state. But Jaime is going to try and fight it out. Throws down Vaetier here. He's going to reveal the Reaver Hunter.
In the grand scheme of things, this Vaetier is actually a very strong play. Unfortunately, because it provided him with crap load. Trying to stay PG here. Stats. Yeah, as you can see,
XD International. We have to stay PG for Disney.
Exactly. For all ages. But yeah, that Vaetier right there hit for a lot of power, triggering the Mangonel 4 times and also buffing up the spotters by 4 strength each. Unfortunately, he's still 30 strength points behind his opponent with the same amount of cards. And even though he's got a very powerful series of plays here, the opponent has Reaver Hunters.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. Reaver Hunters, if you can't stop the process of 3 Reaver Hunters, or it looks like it's Taller and not Operator. Operator was already played, but you can't stop the process of the 4 Reaver Hunters coming down. Then you're in a world of hurt, and those multipliers get out of hand. And he's thinking about where to play this here. This is going to give him a 1.5 card advantage, I think, and this doesn't hurt the Northern Realms at all. In fact, he's probably happier with it because he could just make sure to stagger his values. And we know that the Dime Bomb is waiting, so the Dime Bomb is going to lose out in some extra value because of the delay from Taller being played there. So a really good game state from Petrify. It's what you'd expect to see from him. They obviously chose him to go first with this full test deck being able to battle against anything. And Jaime is going to try and eke out some points here. I wonder what Dijkstra's on. Dijkstra's on a perfect last 2 cards. So
DJ Extra there. Yep, he just drew it right now. He has 2 cards left. He knows exactly what he has to, so there's no randomness to it. A card that may seem very, chaotic to a lot of players, but when used properly, it is an excellent finisher. It's giving you 2 cards at the price of giving your opponent 3 strength, which in decks like this can definitely make the difference. Now, one thing to point out is that normally playing a spy in round 3 is not something that you're really looking forward to, but as you mentioned prior, the Reaver Hunter deck is a deck that really benefits tremendously from having the last say. If it gets to have the last say in a match, the swing that it can provide is ridiculous. Like the way to beat this deck in round 3 is to disrupt their plays, to lock one of the units so you take away the trio, deal with one of the Reaver Hunters before they can stagger up all the strength more and more. There's several ways to do so, but if your opponent has multiple cards to play after you have your last, like in this case, it's beautiful for them. Like, oh, look at that spotter. Forgot. Oh, and this. Oh, that Igni.
That Igni. This Dimebomb is playing for a lot, though. I'm curious to see how much it is. He's at 97 now, and it's got to be a minimum of like massive. 27 points or something here. I mean, it's probably even more than that. Oh, it's 38 points worth of Dimebomb.
Yep.
That's wow. And if he had Letho, it would have been even more. Like, he's legitimately a threat if he was able to get the top deck. But like you pointed out earlier, that redraw into the Reaver Hunter is devastating. It was out of 6 cards, I believe, at the point. And, he came into the last round down a card, and he didn't have access to a spy anymore. So it was tough conditions. But his deck almost answered a very powerful full test deck, which is impressive from Nilfgaard.
They had a very strong opening, very fast too, with a lot of speedy plays or tempo plays. I don't just want to use the word tempo every single time, but they put a lot of points on the board very fast, quite simply, with the more random plays. But then the key point of this match was when Haume ran out of steam, and the Foltest deck was able to continuously build up that strength. And it kind of had like a little bit of a snowball effect in round 1 with all those units benefiting from the Kidwani Sergeant's buffs and the Temeri Infantrymen hitting the board later down the line. So maybe it could have gone differently if the reveal player passed a little bit earlier when he had like the huge gap on him. But it's harder. It's easier said than done, of course. And Petrify is one of the best players out there. So pretty cool game. Really cool to see Foltest and Morbrand going at it. Not the 2 typical leaders you see.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of execution from Foltest, that went as well as possible. He got off the light calves, so there was no threat of drawing them. He was able to hold, which doesn't happen often, Temerians till round 3, play them, and then get a clean Dijkstra. Like, that sequence hardly ever happens for Foltest. So, things went as well as possible. Piloted well, but definitely fortunate with the conditions of the match. So that was a really good game 1. It was pretty close, and now Petrify is gone. And Petrify is someone that you see at the top of the ladder. He's gone. We're not going to talk about him anymore. I mean, he could have a voice in his Skype call with his team or whatever. But it's not the worst thing to see a deck narrow down your focus, and now you have 2 more leaders to deal with, and 1 player is out of the way, so you can narrow down variables. And maybe this is an opportunity for CDPR to regroup and get back into this series.
Indeed. It's only 1 game. It's a best 3 out of 5. Sorry, 3 out of 5. It's a best of 5. So even though Foltest is out of the picture for Team XD, they still have 2 more leaders to go. And, CDPR.
Okay, and we have some donations during that last game. It looks like one of these is specifically for you. A- donates saying, just Mulligan Ermion easy clap. I think that might have been a reference to a game earlier, or is it I don't know.
And probably. And I'll announce the other one, because
you got it.
Mr. Mogwai Nilfgaard Legion, I have to say, it is an excellent name, perhaps the most beautiful name I've ever seen in the internet, says Alba, and donated $10 on top of that. So shout outs to you, shout outs to my Legion, apparently. And I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and your Legion represented. We got to see Nilfgaard in the last game, and that's two $10 donations to add into the prize pool. 100% is going to go on top of the prize pool, which is amazing. A-, I mean, unless someone else donated under a different name, I believe is on Commander's Horn's team. So that's Delta and A- putting up money from that one squad, I believe, which is impressive and generous and awesome. And it looks like we're rolling into game 2 already. And look who stepped up to the plate.
Oh, this is epic. This is Pavel versus Merchant. Oh, boy. I've been wanting to see this one. We see Squayatel. I actually, like, it went so fast that I didn't see what the other leader was. But we're looking at a Squayatel mulligan here. It seems to be a control Squayatel deck. So I would like to believe that this is Pavel's hand, as he's very adamant on this thing. Like, he really likes this deck, and he's actually talked about the fact that he likes this deck in the prior cast, so I can say for sure. Of course, Merchant's going to be playing King Bran, and I can assure you, this is some variant of Queensguard.
Yeah, and this is a very interesting matchup, because, you know, if it is Queensguard, Control Skoya don't typically fare well against it. And we also take into consideration the fact that they full swapped out. You know, they had Yame running the Nilfgaard in game 1. They could have went back to that again, but it seems like Virgil's like, I got this. He jumps in and matches up against Merchant. What a perfect situation, as these two have been going at it over the Twitter feed, you know, getting ready for the match hype. Let's see if Virgil can represent Squayatel he's so passionate about, as he throws down the Dragoon to start getting some points into the hand, really set the tone for the match.
We see Siri Dash in the hand of Burza. It's kind of safe to assume that he has some sort of scorching control gold lineup there. Perhaps Shiru and Viltrumeth, perhaps both of them, one of them, to kind of pair up with Siri Dash and work for that late game in which you stack up as much gold power as you can and you burn everything else. As it is definitely a difficult matchup for when you face a deck like Skellige, because it struggles defeating that deck in round 3. In round 3, Queensguard Skellige, as we have seen, it's confirmed that it is Queensguard, as, you know, 1, it's Merchant, and 2, it is, we saw Ceres and the Queensguard in the graveyard there. This deck can put a lot of strength right off the bat in round 3, and it staggers it in the way of multiple units, which is very bad news for Squayatel control. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Pavel adapts to this matchup, as Merchant drops the Clan Demon Pirate right there, thinning through his deck a little bit more, and, you know, staying just barely on top. Right now, both players are kind of like setting up the board and, you know, working towards their respective strategies.
Yeah, and Ethne, in terms of how she wants to play the game, especially in this matchup, she wants to be very based on removal. So, like you said, the staggered Queensguard are tough to deal with, and especially when they're opened up in round 2, if he happens to be down around by then, his answers are limited to pretty much leader ability with Sasuke to try and catch up in tempo. So this is a really vital round for Ethne in this matchup. You do not want to fold down around and have to deal with a Queensguard res for around 15 or 16 points, especially if you use your leader ability. So I think we'll see Verza take this round very seriously. You can see he got a little unlucky there. It's an early sapper, but it's not the end of the world. And he couldn't use the Scorch because look at all these 6s. There's so many 6s on the board.
He was debating there who should catch the trap, either the pirate or the guy who's punching some other guy. And I guess he does not like violence, and he sends the trap over to Donar right there. As you say, he wasn't lucky, but he did cycle through his deck like crazy there. I believe there was 2 rallies, or perhaps even 3.
That's true.
I think that was
end
triple
result
mercenary.
is a little suboptimal, but you're right. He did get through a lot of cards. Both players are down to 8, so if he's matching the cycle rate of a discard deck, that's pretty impressive.
Interesting. This match is they're both really generating the more or less the same amount of strength here. Nobody's getting way ahead, and it's gonna be interesting to see when Merchant opts to pass with his deck, because obviously I do believe that a deck like this, discard, you know, Queensguard, even though he does have Coral, which can enable him to have a very powerful hit, is not as strong in round 1 as it is later down the line. But right here we see Pavel drop Siri Dash. In case you guys don't know, Series Dash is a 9 strength gold that when going to the graveyard goes to your deck instead and is shuffled there, and it obtains 3 strength. As we see was that the Maritime Shackles?
It was out of hand to lock the Morkvarg, but Merchant has the answer. In a really weird turn of events, he has Decoy, which you don't see that much outside of Axeman Skellige, and he could actually unlock it here and take another card from Burza's deck, but that might help him in the thinning process, depending on what card he takes. Still, that's really a nice play. He's going to have to use the unlock, I believe. It's really tough to lose your Morkvarg because then it might be hard at some point to get Ceres out if you want her out in round 2 and round 3.
I like the fact that he went for the decoy onto Donar instead of utilizing on Morkvarg, even though that would have taken us back a little bit down memory lane. Back when decoy used to strength, and it was actually, Morkvarg was everywhere, and you would always be wanting to lock it, but then they would decoy it, and it would become stronger as well. I don't know. I was prepared to see. Oh, but he lined up for Scorch.
He did. Ooh. And it's a pretty good one. I mean, it's worth, let's see, 14 points, really, because Morkvarg's going to come back as a 4. That's worth taking. And like I said, it's better than using Ithni. You want to try and hold her, even though it feels odd and, you could draw Saskia and regret everything. I think you want to try and hold her as long as you can. But Queensguard are still waiting behind. I think Merchant's going to try and pull off a res right now. He doesn't really have many alternatives.
Yeah, the thing about Morkvarg in a deck like this especially, it's not really that important how much strength is giving you back. It's just the fact that it's resurrecting, because it will trigger the countdown of Ceres, and it will also make it so that if it comes on the board, your opponent can't open pass on you and force you to play a card. So it puts a lot of pressure in that sense. And we do see the Queensguard hit the board, and here comes Ceres. Needs a good slapping, as she says, I think.
Yeah, this is a huge tempo play. Looks like the Sapper is the main answer to this type of play. Like I said, if you're Ithni, it's just push this round. You got to try and take it, because you can see those Queensguard are equaling with a Freya res. It's 15 right now. And then Morkvarg will help to trigger Ceres to start off next round. I love this play from Burza. This is an excellent play. You got to push it. You got to try and win this round. It means everything in this match.
Sure. For sure. That's a very strong Dole Blast and a Trapper. It's threatening a total of 10 points, actually, on the melee row right there. As we see Sigdrifa being played by Merchant. Did he take a Mardrem? Was that a Mardrem? I think that was a Mardrem.
I couldn't catch it. You have better eyes than I do. But that's the third play of Donner. There's 3 Scoia'tael cards in this grave now. Look at that.
Wow.
He's helping win, I guess. So the bright side is that it's a dash deck. Like, at least he has something to fall back on.
That's true. He actually is helping. Like, as long as he doesn't mill him, he is helping the Scoia'tael player by taking out all those bronze cards from his deck. As that Donar is actually very strong. That Donar was technically like a 16 strength Donar. Very solid. Very solid. Right now, we don't know if Powell is playing Saskia. Now we do. Now we know. And here comes Ethne, and let's see what he opts to pick up. Oh, the shackles.
That's cheeky. I like that.
Not bad. Yeah, I mean, it's 10 strength. So
yeah,
it's pretty nice.
It's 10 points.
11.
It's a solid play. Yeah, you're right.
Actually, yeah. I like that. Nice.
That's a nice play. I didn't
even
want
to see Ethne to shackles, but hey, it's justified here.
Yeah, if it's worth 10, then I like that play a lot. And now it forces out Coral here, and Coral's not doing too much compared to what we've seen him do in other matchups. So that's a pretty good trade-off, and he's within 5 points, 6 points of taking the round. This is a really interesting opening round. So it looks like Burza no intentions of stopping here, hovering the Archer. I mean, he'd like to keep Brienne, but Brienne is pretty much capped because we saw the Dragoon go to the Skellige graveyard off of one of the, half dozen Donner plays that occurred this round. And I'm assuming that Yavin is probably on that Alzur's Double Cross, so that's probably not playable. So 2 cards each to try and finish out the round here. And Burza has enough strength to win the round. We'll see if he chooses to push to do so.
I like the fact that he's going for the Archer here, dropping it down, hitting Drifa and the Priestess of Freya, denying potentially a blood-curdling roar to capitalize on that weak body, as he is preserving Bran in his hand to receive an extra buff from the Dragoon in the start of the next round. We do not know what Althor's Double Cross will take out of the deck, but it's safe to assume that there's not that many different options considering he has 5 cards left in his deck, and he's played 2 golds. So in that, out of those 5 cards, 2 are golds, and we're not sure if the rest are all units. So it's going to be a little bit awkward, actually. Even though Siri Dash is going to make up for a little bit for that. Like, he's not going to overdraw. But that Althor's double cross, he's going to have to play it sooner or later. Like, it may be the turn to play it, actually. Like, to make sure that you get value out of it. As he drops the Pyre. Like, Merchant is going all in. Merchant is not allowing Powell to take round 1. Maybe a little bit of animosity in the makings here.
Yeah, I mean,
just
it depends.
For dramatic purposes.
If Yaven's in the deck or not, it's going to be a big deal. And we'll find out with the ADC here. But I have to believe, based on sequencing, that it's probably on Yaven. And this is a big play. 8-point difference now. Does he have a 8-point unit in his grave? I don't think.
I believe no.
Skellige does. Dragoon 6.
He needs a he doesn't want to tie one card below. He needs an 8 strength, an 8 value bronze card in the graveyard to be able to res it with the Priestess of Freya. I'm not sure he does, because the cards that he's stolen with Donar, at the very least from Burza, are not strong. It's just Verhead Dragoon, I believe. We'll see. Like, I can't look at his graveyard, but he's gonna play it, so he must have a target. Oh, the Archer.
Look at that. The Archer is perfect. Wow. And again, Donar coming in clutch. All you have to do is play him 3 times, guys, and it works out really well. Apparently, that's the key to success. And now we'll find out, I guess, the moment we've all been waiting for, if this ADC is on a unit or if it's on Yaven. There are there are some circumstances in which you would consider playing the Yaven out here if you don't think you could play him for the rest of the match. I don't think it's a horrible play, especially when you want to thin your deck. And there you go. Yaven's played Villain Tremorth or Marching Orders. Oh, there can't be many units left in his deck.
Wow.
Hopefully he has Shuru.
He's suffering over the Marching Orders, though.
Yeah, I don't know how many could be left in it. 3 cards, we know Marching Orders, and probably Shuru are 2 of them. So maybe the last card's a unit.
Merchant is victorious in round 1 right here, even though it seemed like Powell had all the strength to put down. That Archer was as clutch as they come, and was able to get that 9 points, exactly what he needed to get above Powell here as we go into round number 2, in which Merchant is not forced to play any card, and we may very well see an open pass from Merchant to preserve what he has, or he may push for the 2-0 as well, knowing how these decks operate. But here's what we're talking about earlier. We see both fire golds here. The big gold dragon and the crazy pyromaniac Shiro right there. And there's Siri Dash. So this is an excellent hand.
That's a really good mulligan to pull out the Siri Dash. Of course, he had a really good shot at it, 50%. He's able to get it out, and it's a card he doesn't mind spending.
That Lugos is dead! Lugos is nothing.
Is he? Oh, yeah, because it's all gold.
Yep.
So this is
great. This is great for him.
Yeah, not bad. It's just that Merchant needs to find a res. He's already played 3 reses, 2 Freyas and Sigurdrifa. So he has 6 cards behind in his deck. He needs to pull out the Freya, otherwise he could be in a really bad situation. These are some really important draws.
Ooh, the Raider. The Raider is something that Merchant has to replace here. He has to use that with Lugos to get the... Like, that's an automatic replacement there. And there's Siri Dash hitting home.
Oh, it's Drake. Oh, no.
That's like the worst top deck you could have had. Oh, no.
That's so bad. He's not able... In 5 cards behind, he's not able to find the res. That's devastating. He just doesn't have enough against the full gold board. And Pavel, the champion of Scoia'tael, is going to try and finish this out, and it's going to work.
Wait, the Raider is 6 strength now, right? So that's a 13 strength play with Madman Lugos, but he'll be forced to hit his own wolf. Oh man, glory to you! Enters the board, and unfortunately, no glory for him this match. You actually you're kind of bad, Drake Badu. I call him guitar guy, zombie guitar guy. Siri dashes the board, 25 points. I don't think Madman Lugos is enough. That is a game, ladies and gentlemen. Powell taking the victory for CD Projekt Rekt. Not yet. Not yet. Oh, wait. I forgot about the... Oh, it didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Still not enough. Don't worry.
Yeah, still not enough. Okay.
You're right. The first. So that's like an amazing result because
What a game.
from my perspective, that's a mismatch. Queensguard is supposed to do really well against any type of control, Skoya, and the fact that Merchant was not able to find the res, had to play so many reses round one to stay in it, and Pavel pressed at the right times. He made really good decisions. When he played out that Yavin in round one, you could say he has access to 2 more potential Scorches, but would he ever have enough time in a round to get off a Villain Trap Mirth? Would he ever want to be Scorching his own unit? Is that too slow? I think he made a lot of great plays, and that was actually like really well done, and the series is all knotted up 1-1. All of a sudden, we're back.
That was an excellent game, very tight. Both players, it came down to very key draws, and I can feel the pain of Merchant when he top decked that because he had to replace the Raider. Like the thing is, he didn't like it wasn't like a greedy mulligan. You know what I mean? Like he had to get that out of his hand because he would get value from it from Madman Lugos. But the strategy, like what you said, like I completely agree. Queensguard is very favored against. Squator control because of that, but the fact that he had no power in round 3 when that's a deck feared for its power in round 3. It just goes to show you that, draws are important.
Doesn't always go your way. And
you learn something every day.
To be honest, it did go his way in round 1 because pulling that Archer to the grave, that saved him. That game could have been totally different. So, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. That's the life, and that's what makes it exciting. But guys, before we keep going, we have to stop because there's a huge donation that we have to announce from Gulax2. I'm going to read this to you. This is what he said. He's donating $350, $200 for the prize pool, and $150 for the creation of individual awards. He wants the Gwentlemen to create a tournament MVP, a play of the tournament, and a meme of the tournament. And that is fantastic. Thank you so much to Galax2. That's a ton of money. And I think he effectively just doubled the prize pool on his own, which is outstanding and so generous.
And he added in the individual awards. Dude, shout out to this man. Where is this man at? I don't see him in the chat.
I don't know, he's gotta say something. Yeah. So
Gulax, talk to us.
Now we have to keep track, Mogwai. We have to watch for an MVP and for a play of the tournament. And a meme of the tournament. Well, I think Swim can keep an eye for the meme of the tournament, and his followers will be into that. But tournament MVP and play of the tournament, those are things that we can keep an eye on and try and track throughout. Maybe get some clips going. That's super generous.
Oh my god, that's insane. Damn. I'm just a little bit shocked. That's a lot. But hey, that's all. That's great. I love Gwent receiving all this. This is great. I have no words. Shout out to you, man. Holy crap.
Things are getting intense now. It started off as, a $200 tournament, and now the prize pool's getting up there. So, start getting ready. Get your team some practice, and we'll be able to broadcast those games. No pressure at all. 6 weeks of grueling team battle. We get to game 3 here. It looks like Jaume is back, and he's going to play against Merchant. So we have Nilfgaard versus Skellige. And this is an interesting match because look at Jaume's hand. He has Letho. And we were speculating he might have it in the deck. He has Letho D-Bomb in hand 1 against a Queensguard Skellige. This could go very wrong. Merchant might be getting the worst run of luck right now, but we'll have to see. They still have an opportunity because of discard synergy to produce points, but this is a nice hand if you're playing Reveal.
This hand is just you dream about hands like this when you play Reveal Nilfgaard. You have the Mangonel to open. You have the Alchemist to trigger one of the Dareland Foot Soldiers, so you can actually reveal more of the opposing hand with Morvran. You have the Letho Demeritium Bomb combo. As you said, in case anybody's wondering, Letho is a very special type of card. It is a 7-strength gold unit that becomes 1 strength if you play it on the opposing side because, yes, it can be either loyal or disloyal. And if it goes on the opposing side, it banishes 2 creatures to the left and to the right. That's not killing. No, that's banished, gone from existence. The soul is dead. They cannot go back. And that's very good in a game like Gwent because you are taking away any sort of graveyard synergy. And in this particular matchup, you're facing a deck that revolves, or his entire strategy revolves around the graveyard. As you can see there, Guitar Guy entered the board and buffed up 2 Queensguard in Merchant's graveyard as he's aiming to res them later down the line. So this Letho could be absolutely huge because paired with the Meridian Bomb, not only does he get to get rid of that carryover strength for the later rounds, he also can deny all the strength at the same time with those 2 cards combined.
Yeah, he is a game-winning card in a matchup like this. And if Mork hits the board too, and he's able to gobble up absolutely all the value, then Merchant's going to be relying solely on discard synergy. But we'll have to see how it plays out. If Merchant has a read on it, the interesting thing to note is that Letho didn't show up in that first game, so he doesn't necessarily know that he's in the deck. He does know that Dime Bomb's there, so it's a big clue, but he's not 100% sure. And honestly, there's no way to play around it if you're playing Queensguard effectively. Like, what are you going to do? Not play your Source of Strength? So we'll see when he drops the Queensguard. If he tries to hold Mork and stagger them a bit, maybe he'll try and get out of a round earlier. There's a couple ways to try and make it a little bit more clunky for your opponent. But a great start here for Reveal is they're able to amount a 12-point lead and really get things rolling. And there's the Morkvarg.
There's the Morkvarg. It's important to note that he went for Alchemist with Erlin Foot Soldier before triggering his leader's ability. That was a little bit risky.
It was a little risky.
But he did not get punished right there. As we see Morkvarg enter the board, getting the Imperial Golems out of the deck. And revealing 3 cards, which will trigger the Mangonels. This is a huge hit. This is like 31-point lead for Jaume. Like, Jaume could potentially pass next turn. The problem is that Queensguard Resurrection that is going to happen is going to enable Merchant to catch up, like, very fast. So, how much, like, those 2 are 8 strength each. Mm-hmm. So, that Queensguard is a 20 strength play right now. And if he gets Ceres back onto the board, that's 7 more. Another mistake. But even then, that's still not enough.
It's a big play, though, so he does have to consider the pass at the very least. But I think Merchant will try and keep tempo here. I think he'll probably play out the Queensguard right now to try and stay relevant in the round. I mean, the fact that 2 Mangonels get set up and they're not interrupted, it does put you in a tough spot. And we know that Leo's behind, as well as Nilfgaardian Knight and Albrecht all have reveal synergies. So these Mangonels are going to be a tough condition to try and bypass. And look at this. He's not even going to wait. There's no foreplay. He's not going to tease him at all. Goodbye. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man.
Oh no, and Letho takes them all, and the Dime Bomb will remove 23 points from play. Doesn't even need to use it because the Mangonel setup is here. This round is out of control, and this was a fantastic pick. I mean, they must have been going for the gamble that Merchant was going to play again. We know Petrify's out of the pool, and True Dawn's waiting in the wings, and they knew that they had Letho Dime Bomb combo, and they found it immediately. Wow, this is a matchup for the ages for CD Projekt Red.
And we can see Jaume right there singling over D-Bomb. We know what's going to happen next. That's a 23-point play, as you said. Oh, we see the spy from Merchant. I think if you're...
Merchant has to win this round, so he's probably spying to consider the Coral. Coral, do some quick math, is 7 plus 6, so it's 13 plus the body, 18 points. Is that enough? Oh, that's a tie. So, I mean, I think he has to try and win it, but winning down 2 wouldn't feel fantastic unless my math is bad, which it can be from time to time. So maybe we'll wait and see for benefit of the doubt.
Everybody's. No worries. I'm okay, so he's really thinking about passing here. He has to consider Coral. If Coral doesn't put him in the lead, tying with a deck like this, this is a good pass. This is a good pass.
Yeah.
Because even if Coral ties, you're going into round 2, in which you both have to win, and you're 1 card over your opponent, and you're also going after them. So it's a tremendous advantage.
Yeah, I think
Merchant
you're right.
is a difficult spot here. This was an excellent pass.
There's just no way that Merchant can let this round go. He has to try and win it, and it seems really silly because the condition of the game is so rough for him.
Did we count Coral right?
I think I did. I mean, I could count it a couple more times.
Okay, let's see. 2, 4, 5. No, sorry. 4, 7. Math. 6 plus 7, 18. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, good. Whew, dodged a bullet there. But yeah, so it's gonna draw. This was super unfortunate that it's just 1 point. Oh my goodness! And did we see if Olgierd? I don't think he discarded Olgierd because he discarded both Queen's cards. So there's no carryover for Skellige. So he's just gonna have to open pass to get 1 card back here. There's no alternative really. Like he can't play this round.
I think this was very safe for Hame. Like I think this was a very good pass because he has a lot of power to generate. Cynthia is excellent in this matchup for the later rounds. Because the bigger the pirate captains are, the more powerful it becomes herself. He's still preserving D-Bomb, which could be useful against the captains as well. And he has really good tools with Leo. Like he has a lot of ways to generate a lot of strength. And he has 2 cards over his opponent. And his opponent has no Queen's Guards to resurrect. So no carryover strength whatsoever. Nothing really to push the limit for Haume here. So we're going to see a resurrection with Sigdrifa onto Guitar Guy. I'll just call it Guitar Guy. Drake Bandu. As that pulls out Sarah.
Interesting that he wants to play this round because he's not really tempoing him out of the round. Maybe he thinks that 14's tempo, but we know that Cynthia can answer. A couple gold cards could have answered. So interesting choice for Merchant there. I thought he was going to try and get a card back for sure, but this is another line of play, and we'll see how it pans out as he decides to throw the Donnerlock just to try and steal a payoff, and he gets it. Spotter down.
Always gets the spotter. I hate Donner.
Yeah, always gets what you don't want it to.
Exactly.
100% hit rate.
But when you use it yourself, it never works.
Yeah. You get like Marjo's or something.
I think you could make a case for playing Cantarella here and then going for Leo to reveal that Guardian Knight and eliminating Cantarella because it can actually make Merchant panic. Like I don't see with Peter and D-Bomb in hand and having denied the Queen's Guard. I think he can afford to play the Spy without, but he's gonna opt to not do that. He's gonna have to drop the Guardian Knight instead. But he can afford to kind of like make sure that he has that card advantage, even though also just keeping up with him is also a very good plan here. You'll probably have to mulligan away that Cantrell for round 3 though, as it's not something you want to play in the last round. As we're gonna see a decoy. Well, why targeting Donar? I think that must be a visual lie.
Wait, I'm pretty sure it's on Drake right now.
Yeah.
So he's trying to stack some.
I saw the arrow point at Donar though, which is
yeah, the classic misdirection.
Yeah.
Trying to throw everybody off. But it looks like he's going to try and stack. So the units on the grave are probably going to be, bigger than 10 strength. So he's going to have a decent amount of strength going into round 3 in the most makeshift of manners. But
those
got to try and
pirates are getting big.
Yeah, they are. They're rocking 13s. They're going to be 14s with veteran next turn. That's pretty sizable if he can find the res, which it might be too soon to bring that up again, but. What can you do?
His objective here is to stay ahead or catch up rather, stay above Merchant's strength, so that he's not forced to waste an extra card. If you can keep this +2 card advantage over him, there's very little ways you can lose. And it seems like Cantrell is going to go down now, which I don't think is the proper turn for it. Like he was hovering over it. I think now you gotta make sure that you don't play Cantrell, and now you don't have a 10. Like you don't have a clear way to. I don't know. It depends how, because Merchant has quite a bit of power in his hand here, as Ermion will buff up the pirate by 2, and will also enable him to potentially improve the quality of said hand. And he has the likes of Madman Lugos, which can provide a very nasty swing as well.
Yeah, he's probably contemplating what he would want to discard though. With 5 cards behind and a Freya in hand, he's going to end up discarding a payoff card here, or
the Raider.
He pulls the Raider, but now it's a tough choice, and looks like he might actually. Is he going to discard Lugos? Lugos, if there's no other Raiders, Lugos is worth a little bit less, I believe, than the other cards. But he decides to go with the Freya instead, and he draws the round. So he's staying close in this round. Which, if you were going to play into the round, and which he chose to do, obviously, you need to keep it competitive. And give yourself a couple of pass opportunities along the way, or just outright push them. So I respect this line of play, and Jaume is going to try and continue his line without having to expend too much. He knows the payoff cards are waiting in the wings for Merchant. He knows they're probably double digits by now. Probably doesn't know. Oh, you can see the 15. So he knows they're all 15s. And he doesn't want to have to use the spotters. He already lost one. He doesn't want to have to use Pete. We'll see if Merchant can force those types of cards out of his hand to create a difference moving into round 3.
This Veit tier is excellent, though, for Jaume, as it enables him to reveal the last card. Now he has full information about what his opponent has, so he can react accordingly. He has not only the Meritian Bomb, but Peter Sargwinley for both of the buffed up pair captains. And Madman Lugos is basically Merchant's best chance at getting the upper hand here and forcing an extra card. But the more this round is going, the least likely it seems that's going to happen. As the first pirate hits the board, he doesn't even have to resort to Peter just yet, but he may as well just do it. This just completely nullifies all those buff gains and leads to a 16 strength swing for Jaume, putting him 9 points ahead of Merchant. Madman Lugos is his only hope at getting a significant lead here, but I don't think being 9 points behind, you can really do much about this. It seems like Merchant is really pushing for the 2-0 at this point. And I'm just kind of hoping Jaume doesn't play Cantarella, honestly, as it seems like he's not. I like the fact that he's preserving that to use that 10 strength in combination with... Wait. It's not like that anymore, Jaume. Okay, now you just have...
Yeah, he's saved. But yeah, you're right. He's pushing pretty hard, but Merchant really had to push in one of the 2 rounds. He either had to open pass and push round 3 or here and just hope for the best. But since Jaume could see Merchant's entire hand, like he knows he has it, he knows he's in a really good position. Merchant is going to try and take this game down to a top deck. If he top decks a res, it's worth 14 or 15 points. That's his only shot right now.
He could play D-Bomb. Oh, he could play D-Bomb on the Outbreak and preserve the 14 strength. Oh!
Ooh.
He could have won the round with D-Bomb on his Outbreak.
It would have been enough? 6 points? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he was 5 points behind.
Wow. That is a bit of a pain. And now is that his last spotter, or is it one more? One more, right?
Donar took away one.
Yeah. Oh, it's a Mangonel. Oh no, and it's the Freya for Merchant.
Oh my! That D-Bomb is dead. That Cantrell is dead. Oh my god!
Is it over? I don't want to look.
He lost.
Oh no!
Modern Freyr is patient.
Oh, this is heartbreaking.
No insult.
Oh, he's cheating.
The points, the makeshift Skellige points. I haven't seen a pirate this buffed for ages. 14.
No, Jaume! Jaume, no!
6. Oh, he doesn't have it. Because of the spotter.
Merchant's back at it.
Merchant did it. The ultimate bamboozle. I wrote him off for 4 rounds. Oh my goodness. Everything went so right until it went so wrong. Oh man, no.
What a game. Oh man, he was doing so well up until that point. Like one mistake in Gwent is all you need. Oh,
and he got unlucky in the top deck too. Like if that Mangonel was just the spotter, it doesn't even matter.
Oh man,
it could have been bailed out, but it just didn't. Oh my, it's a tough run of games for Jaume right now. He's really not catching a break, and then one small mistake gets capitalized on. And Merchant, what a resilient effort. There's probably a half dozen opportunities to just quit out of that match, but he fought through. I respect that. That's impressive. I don't know if I would have lasted that long under those conditions, and it worked out. So
credit. Like you could make a case for a forfeit at a certain point, but
for round 1, like you could have said bye once that dime bomb dropped, but he stuck it out and it somehow worked. What a bizarre turn of events.
It's one of the craziest games I've seen because it was such a strong opening with the Letho just denying the whole strategy right there. But then like I said, it just goes to show how obviously like Gwent. What people gotta understand, Gwent's a very mentally taxing game, especially when you're in a competitive situation like this. It's a tournament, it's a conquest format. You kind of want to get the win for your team and all that, and it's very easy to make mistakes. And that D-bomb play, which slipped him. It really that cost him the match, but that's just how it is, man. Merchant Merchant was probably very pleasantly surprised by that. He was like, "Oh, well."
It's unfortunate this one was recorded, but I know the exact feeling he's going through in that game. And we do have a donation during that game from Very Real Laugh Couch, and I don't know how my German is. 99 ya zoom zoom that pirate. $15. Thank you very much. And that was an awesome game. And this series really is heating up now. 2-1 in favor of XD Esports. We'll see if CD Projekt Red can pull it back. We know Halme has that Nilfgaard list that hasn't been getting lucky, but we haven't seen Junkira yet. So they have another leader they could bring out to try and fight off True Dawn. We don't know what True Dawn's rocking, so very exciting going into third game. They're going to have their arsenal to try and deal with True Dawn, and True Dawn has to be the hero for XC Esports to try and pull it out here.
Unless I'm mistaken, we did see what list was Petrify? He ran Fultist, right?
Yes, yep.
So True Dawn is the one that I know this player the most by his Northern Realms, so I'm gonna be intrigued to see what he brings. Ethne, ooh, that means one of two things: either dwarves or Scorch Control. Ethne can do both, and we see a matchup against Skellige as Junkera, from the last member of CD Projekt Red, the community member for Brazil, I believe, is bringing what seems to be a Queensguard Skellige, but with some interesting tech options there. The Shield Maiden, nice.
Shield Maidens with Queensguard. Two cards that I often mistake for each other because it looks so
yeah.
I don't know. This must be a confusing deck building process, but an interesting list. And this is a tough matchup if it's dwarves, because dwarves against Queensguard, dwarves against Skellige in general. Ever since I saw Super JJ post his 70% win rate as dwarves versus Skellige, my eyes have been opened up. I was never too much of a fan, but they're respectable. We'll see. If this is control, then Junkira is going to feel really good about having a Queensguard hybrid deck. But if it is dwarves, oof, it could be a doozy.
If it's dwarf, the one very important thing that dictates the result of the match very early on is whether the Skellige player has Coral or not in their opening hand. So in this case, at the very least, if it is dwarves, we see Coral right there. Coral is the best tool
he's listening to. Yeah, an inside.
Yeah.
I thought these games were pre-recorded. That was perfect timing.
There's no such thing as coincidences, my friend. Maybe I can see beyond, or maybe I'm just kind of full of crap. But we see an Elven Mercenary lead there, right? Pulling out a rally, taking out an Archer, which has no target, and just develops 5 strength there. Not the most impressive start for.
There you go. It's control. I don't think I've ever seen an Archer inside of a Dwarf deck before. So,
yep.
There's your tell. That's a good sign for Junkira as a Queensguard list, and now True Dawn's getting the notification that, hey, this is Queensguard, as the operator sends one the other way. So he's going to try and adapt his playstyle a little bit to try and fiend off the Queensguard. Again, same thing applies, we were talking about earlier. If you're playing as the Ithni here against Queensguard, you want to win round 1 so bad. So we'll see if he's able to push. That is True Dawn, and second Archer already coming out. So a lot of units used to level strengths typically already played in early round 1. Could be a bit trouble.
Yep. Unlike her sad sister, this one did get to hit something. As Operator drops down to 3, we see Junkira having to go up 9 strength, I believe, as he does drop King Brand's ability. So it's time to go and drink and drop those Queensguard onto the graveyard. He dropped 2 Queensguards and Ceres, right? Yeah, Ceres.
Yeah, Ceres down there. This sets up the potential for Queensguard res, and it's a pretty good round state for him. Honestly, everything, his hand looks pretty solid. I'm curious though, like with these Shield Maidens in the deck, and we also see Holger. Maybe there's some spicier golds in here. Maybe there's a Hjalmar in the deck. I can't for sure narrow down what type of deck Junkira is running, because it is a true hybrid with some of these tech choices, and it could surprise True Dawn at some juncture if all of a sudden a Hjalmar jumps down and you Holger, and all of a sudden there's a 25-point gold against a control deck. That's something they don't deal with very well.
The surprise factor is something very important in any game, and really something like Gwent. It can throw your opponent. If you're expecting a very standard list, and you throw something not only like Halmar, but the shield maintenance and stuff like that, it can really throw your opponent for a loop. As we see Gwentlemen drop in the siege throw for True Dawn. A very early use of the Golden Dragon here. Very interesting about that play as he develops the Holger Blackhand, buffing up one of the Queensguard in the graveyard and knocking out one of the archers in the process. I wonder why he opted to go with this premature Gwentlemen play. Like, it's so early on in the match.
Yeah, Gwentlemen's not a very good card in a matchup against Queensguard, so I like the idea of playing it early. There is a huge risk associated with it. Yeah, well, Yavin is one answer, but if your opponent also has the spy, then
I mean, if True Dawn has Yavin, like he may be trying to bait that.
Yeah, that could be it. But if your opponent matches with the spy, then it really isn't that great of a play. But it does seem like he's telegraphing Yavin a bit, and there is no Udalryk right now for Junkira, so he's probably able to get that off. And he needs to mount the card advantage because he wants to apply a lot of pressure. We know that the Queensguard haven't been played out yet. Also, we see a Shield Smith. A Shield Smith's not a card I've seen in a while, but he's going to be able to contribute to the Queensguard. And this is almost like perfect tech against Skoya Control. Like, putting base strength on everything is phenomenal. I wonder if Junkira had some insight.
Drama.
Well, they knew they were playing Ithni, and they had a 50-50 that it was Dwarves or Control, I guess. It's probably not true odds, but they won that gamble, and hopefully we'll find out if it works out or not. And there he is.
There's the Yavin. And so because he applied the Author's Double Cross, he didn't even have to worry about his opponent playing Udalryk. Because fun fact, Skellige would be the only faction to interrupt that play, because every single other spy in the other factions is weaker than Yavin. So Gwentlemen with Yavin is a very powerful combination, and it's really going to put work here, as if basically reverts the coin flip, and it also forces Junkira to pass with a 10 strength lead, which is going to be very easy for True Dawn to surpass, especially with a double blast and a trapper. Like, with that many cards in hand, and because most control decks do run Saskia, you can even just use Ethne to catch up if you needed to. So, very nice round one for True Dawn. He was able to get that round one victory in a sneaky way, utilizing Yavin combined with Gwentlemen, but he doesn't have that power for the round 3 anymore. Which, as you said earlier, it's not really that good of a win con versus Queensguard, because they tend to stagger their strength instead of focusing it more on a specific targets. But it's going to be interesting to see just how much True Dawn wants to push this round. He's in control now.
Yeah, and he's going to open pass, because he doesn't want to push at all, especially if he's playing, sappers or what have you. He wants to have longer rounds so he can get more value off of those types of cards. So I think this is a pretty wise play. You almost never will play around against Queensguard that you don't have to, because they have a 20-point play just waiting. So the idea of trying to tempo a Queensguard is it's not really a thing. So very wise play by True Dawn. He shows his veteran grit with the open pass here, and now Junkira has to respond. I'm pretty sure you just throw this Scald or one of these cards, but instead he's going to put a Shield Maiden in his grave. This could come back to the point where we don't know how many activators he has in terms of damaging units. He already played Holger. He has
Coral, though.
Coral, but Coral's better late, so maybe that's his thought process. I'm not entirely sure of the decision, but we haven't seen any reses come out. Are there no Freyas or Sig, or he's just unlucky? Where are the gold cards? I don't know what's going on with Junkira's hand right now, man. I'm panicking for him.
There it is. There it is. The gold card.
Okay.
Damn, we almost lost you there.
Okay, so that bails him out heavy, because there's no Freyas here, and Freyas are pretty solid in this match. He's not getting much value out of these Shieldsmiths now. It's unfortunate he couldn't play them in round 1, because we track their value as the base strength over the course of 3 rounds if you want to make them the most efficient. Now they're just here to stagger a bit. They're 9-point plays.
Ceres comes in with the 4 Queensguard, 28-point play for the very first turn of this round 3. If Junkira loses this match, it is over for CD Projekt Red. If Junkira wins, they're back in it, and they will have to win one more to win the overall set. It's going to be very interesting, because both of the, I like to call them the investors, right? I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically the units that translate strength somewhere else, and that can lead to carryover potential, like the Hawker support there or the Shield Smith, are just basically pure stats in this scenario, unless the buffing is going to something like Bran. Ooh, that Milva is very nice. That Milva is very good. That's not incredible, but it's decent. Like it enables him to realize Smuggler there.
Definitely a plus value Milva. Good opportunity to play it. She's not a card we see very often anymore, and it makes you wonder, this type of deck Trudon's coming in, what he may have thought he was up against. Like maybe he thought it would have been a Skellige discard where Milva could send back a Pirate Captain. He just happened to find Queensguard. But now these are linked up on 7s, and he's realizing it right after he played it. This is the opening for Scorch, a 21-point Scorch. And there's no way around it. If you're Trudon and you have it, goodbye. Hasta la vista. 21 points off the board. And he just noticed once he played it, you saw him hovering the triangle. It was like the Illuminati triangle going on in the middle of the battlefield.
Yeah. And he's holding on to that Ermion. He's going to have to play it relatively... And yeah, like I'm also like wondering, where are the Priestess of Freya? He has to have Freya's, right? If he's playing Queensguard.
You'd expect so, unless he's, absolute monster at drawing Operator, then I guess he could try and not run it, but that's quite the life to lead. I'd assume he's got some in the deck.
He has good discard targets, though. Like, Mardrim is a card that I don't think is going to see much use, especially because he does not have the last say this matchup. So he is going to opt to go for Ermion. Another first light is drawn, and there is Dead Guitar Guy, as we're going to see one of the first lights, and he's actually going to preserve the Mardrim. Interesting. I guess he values that more ultimately than pulling another. But then that also denies the potential of him drawing into the rest, even though he hasn't shown it up until this point. He doesn't have so many cards left in his deck, though.
Yeah, Mardrim might clash a little bit with Coral as well. Any target that you want to Mardrim, you might want to hit with Coral. So it does have a little bit of, collision course with each other in the hand. But I could see why he wants to hold it in case they're able to bring out one of these cards early. Like if a Bran has to get played, I don't really know what an urgent condition that would usher an early Bran out is, but maybe he's thinking it would be a good opportunity to play it out. Skellige don't typically play too wide, so this Coral is probably just going to get smashed on 3 units at some juncture, and he's just going to have to live with it. And other than that, he's going to go about the normal business now. Again, no reses. I don't know if they exist in the deck or not. We don't have access to that right now.
I like this line of play, though.
And he's he's stacking the Queensguard in the grave for Drake. So this is another makeshift play. We've seen a lot of like on the fly innovative plays. I like this.
Yeah, for sure. Like he sent that to the graveyard to be able to buff it with Drake Bondu, and now he will be able to bring it back with Queensguard. So it's technically that Blood-Calling Roar was kind of free if you think about it. It actually helped his line of play here because of the lack of Freya's. Still holding on to that Mardrim, which I believe, unless Trudon plays the buffed up unit, is he stacking up all that strength on a single unit? Or is he opting to... Because he's aiming at the bear. If he's aiming at the bear, it kind of leads you to believe that he doesn't have a super buffed up Bran.
Yeah, if he's aiming at the bear, it could be Torville. But he switched targets, and I'm not sure the reasoning. He puts the bear at 10. That's an interesting choice. Maybe it's something to do with the type of removal in his hand. Maybe he feels like he could link up 10s. I don't know what the strength of the Queensguard in the grave are. Perhaps there's a 10 Queensguard in the grave. That would be a good reason to do that. And now the Marges looks a little better because now he can stagger if he has to before resing anything. So that's an upside to keeping it this long. And
yeah, at least Mardrim now is on the Queensguard is a 6 strength play, right?
Yep. Or he could just make the bear block everything else if he wants to. Again, we just don't know how many Scorches he has. Like Trudon could have access to. That's the funny thing about Scoia'tael. He could have access to 1 more Scorch now or 3 more, and we wouldn't know because we can't see his hand and he hasn't played enough things to tell us otherwise. Not enough golds out. Looks like he's going to go for the lock. What do you get? First light.
Oh, okay.
Not bad.
So he took a first light from him. really trying to preserve the Queen's Guard toward the very end in case he loses that last Queen's Guard in the melee road to be able to make up for, the value and kind of like make it as if nothing happened. But at the same time, by preserving that card for the very end, you would kind of want to do... Like, the problem is his hand is stacked with 2 cards that you kind of want to play as late as possible with Marjoram and Coral, but he's also very prone. He's being very cautious with the Queen's Guard there. And I like, here it kind of benefits him because if you had played the Queen's Guard before, that Double Blast and a Trapper would hit for more damage. See, the thing is, you want to play Scald when you have the Queens. Like, at this point, you have to play the Queen's Guard, I believe, or you go with a different...
Well, we just saw in the grave that the Queen's Guard is at 10, so playing the Scald on the range room
it's at 10. It's at 10. Yeah.
Is not bad. So I think you could play the Scald here and not mind it too much. I definitely don't want to pull the Queen's Guard out early in case there's another Sapper.
That's why I hit the bear then. I didn't know one of the Queen's Guard was a 10. So that's why he hit the bear. He wants to line up his
just showed. And actually, I guess he could have considered Marjoring. If he Marjored this, he would have saved 4. So it's not really worth because he could always just use the Marjor on the Queen's Guard and get more points out of it. But he probably was considering it for at least a moment there.
Yep, as Clan Handling Scald hits the board, buffs up the bear up to 12, making it so that it will be above the Queen's Guard once they're resurrected. As 4 cards left for True Dawn. One of them is his leader's ability, which will most likely pull Saskia out of the deck. So that will be a very powerful swing for him, as it'll be 12 points in gold bodies plus Scorch, and now throws Double Cross, as we saw there. Like, so many options. True Dawn has a lot of power left.
Everything all right?
And here comes the Elder Mercenary. There's only 1 bronze special card left in the deck, and he is going to apply it onto that Marjoram onto Donar, hitting for a total. That was basically an 8 strength play, which is, not the greatest Elder Mercenary you've seen around. Junkera really holding onto that Queen's Guard. He wants to make sure that he develops them as late as possible, but right now, like, you either go Marjoram, like, I think you just go Marjoram because you don't really, like, True Dawn is not gonna show his big unit until the very end, so you can kiss, using that on a big target goodbye. So you may as well get it out of the way. I would play Marjoram before.
I think you're right. I think you play it out here because you'd rather wait one more turn to find extra value for Coral. That play was interesting. He decides to keep the bear at 12, which probably means that he has Villain Treppenmirth, and this would be the exact time he would play it if he had it. I could see this being Villain Treppenmirth, Bran, and the...
Oh, but he played it round 1, so he doesn't have any more.
He played Villain Treppenmirth already? You're right. He started off the game with that. Then he decides to keep the biggest unit on the board, probably for the Scorch then, as a second fallback. And... have we seen? We said Milva. We're assuming Saskia. There's one other gold that we haven't seen, I believe, then. If that's the case.
It may be Shiru?
Shiru? Well, he can't use it then because the last card is probably... Well, we know it's a 6-point buff card, so if he has Shiru, it's just a 10-point gold. This is a very close match right now. And
Merktebrecht. So it's safe to assume that he doesn't have a gold left, because he still hasn't shown whatever he's packing in as his last card right there. It's what's buffed. Received all the buffs. It's the super thing, the super card. As
card.
Okay.
Yeah, so
it's time to play the Marjoram. It's time to play it now.
He's got to stagger it. He knows the setup is very deliberate. That's the one downside to control, right? Is you have to really broadcast your intentions, and so he staggers it. Still not the most fantastic play, but it gives him an opportunity to be in the game. This is going to come down to the nitty gritty. I'm going to see what the buff card is. It probably has to be Brienne for Scoria to stay in this match.
Scorch hitting for 14 strength. That's a huge swing. And for the first time in this round, True Dawn takes the lead as Junkera develops his last unit, which is the Queen's Guard, putting him up to 58, 13 strength advantage, but that is for Broccoli.
Huge.
And takes out one of the Queen's Guard right there, and True Dawn takes the win, 11 points over Junkera. A very tight match towards the end, And XD Esports takes the victory overall, 3-1 over CD Projekt Red. You know, a round of applause though for CD Projekt Red. I think they did pretty well. Like that. My favorite game was the one of Powell versus Merchant. That was a very tight game too.
Well, yeah, that was a bizarre game.
Yeah,
didn't see that coming at all. It was a really exciting series, honestly, and you know, you could see the potential there for the CD Projekt Red to, you know, get their stuff going. They were so close to being up or getting 2-2 or 2-1 at one point. So there's a lot of potential with that team, and we heard them talking earlier. You know, Burrs was talking with Swim, saying how everyone in this tournament is tough to play against, and that definitely holds true with these two teams. And best of wishes to them going forward as Team XD get off on the right foot. They are probably touted as the favorites in the match. They deliver, and they're a team that a lot of people are going to keep their eyes on moving forward. They're probably going to find a lot of success with the ever-increasing prize pool. It's exciting.
Oh, hey, boys.
Oh, hello.
That was a great set, guys. Fantastic casting, and like you guys said, I don't know. CD Projekt Red team did actually play very well. I saw some really innovative decks by them. They brought like some, you know, pretty good like surprise value decks, and honestly, it did definitely work out in some ways. So huge turnout for the first week of this tournament so far, and we did get some huge donations today as well. Huge thanks to all of our donators. Our prize pool is currently at $760, and that's just from week 1 donations. Huge thanks specifically, well, not specifically, especially to Gulax for the 350. And to Summoning Circle, or Delta for the 100. And of course, again, one thing to note is that Gulax's donation came with the requirement that 150 be split among tournament MVP, play of the tournament, and meme of the tournament awards. So you can look out for those at the end as well. But we're looking very, very good, you know, moving forward for the finals. 5 weeks from now, the top 16 out of these 50 teams is going to be showing up to compete for the, well, currently $760, but we'll see exactly what it will be by that point. But yeah, the prize pool is starting to really ramp up, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to start to up their game because of that. What you guys have anything specific to say?
Well, thanks for having me. First off, I think this tournament is very exciting. I think the format is fun. Having the ban, not having to watch Dagon for a while, that's going to really make my life a little bit better. And of course, it opens up the potential for a lot more decks. I mean, Nilfgaard is a faction again. I had no idea until today. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. And, you know, those are some exciting games. Looking forward to playing and watching more games in the future.
Yep, absolutely.
I gotta echo what H3 said here. I really like the fact that we're not seeing Dagon Wars. We're seeing a lot of diversity, which is very cool. I really like seeing some reveal Nilfgaard put in the work. That match was really crazy, and seeing just all these different leaders go at it, different approaches, a lot of, you know, some established lists, but with very key tweaks that makes it very interesting, especially when they're piloted by these high-level players. This tournament is stacked, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of really good quality competitors here, and now they're even more motivated thanks to you, to your donations. So you added more pressure. Thank you. Yeah, I totally needed that.
We're just getting a look at the week 2 bracket. You could see another set of interesting matches. Gwentlemen Blue have to play against Italia. It's a team with Liafra that are a fantastic team that you got to see earlier. There's a lot of good matches here. CD Projekt Red have the honor of moving on to Gwentlemen Cows after a tough first round. Wow, this tournament doesn't get much easier as it goes on.
Yeah, no, it's only going to get more and more competitive. I mean, this is an absolutely stacked week 2. I mean, just looking at it, I mean, I see Ask Gwent is they're looking at a team kill situation already. Ask Gwent Alba versus Ask Gwent Bean. That is definitely going to be a bit of an exciting one. We have dumplings, strawberry dumplings, which is
I love these names.
Garuna's team. Garuna, Panda, and Karastras. This is just a lot of high-profile matches here. They're going to be facing out versus House of Cards with Shifu. Yeah, and then there's Group 1 Fade to Karma with Cypher, Pasaka, and Crockies versus Pumpkin's team.
Yeah, that should be a good one to keep an eye on. Too.
And I'm on Gwentlemen Blue, by the way. I'm with Vishra and Freddy on Gwentlemen Blue, and we're gonna be against Gwent Italy. Yeah,
Italia is legit.
Well, I know their decks now.
You hear that, Italia? Leah, get it. Go switch everything quick.
And shout outs to Tall Poppy Syndrome. I don't know that team, but I really like the name, even though I don't understand it. I like it. Facing against XD, so yeah.
Yeah, but it looks like it's going to be an equally exciting week 2. We will be casting the same as this week. We're going to have potentially different casters. We're going to switch it up. We'll be announcing the casters, and we are going to be casting 2 sets of games again at the same time on the same day. It's going to be 8 p.m. CEST on Tuesday, August the 15th. Any last words, gents?
Thank you for having me. It was great. It's fun. It's going to be very exciting because, you know, as we're casting and competing in this at the same time, it's going to be very intriguing for sure. Just want to give you guys a shout out for having me here. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I'm excited for, you know, continuing to cast these events along you beautiful mofos. And I hope you guys are excited for next week because we got some very hot matchups. That's all I gotta say. Thanks.
You guys rolled the dice putting me and Mogwai together. Week 1 rivals in TGI. It worked out.
I don't know how much rivalry was there, but I'll be back, damn it.
Yeah, take out your vengeance on someone else. Don't spare us. Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me again. It's fantastic. A great job. And we'll see you guys when I see you.
Okay, great. Super exciting week 1 cast, and this will conclude that. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you guys next week.